want them to avoid irrationality.
I guess what interests me is just like what interests everybody else. It's just sort of what feels real.
Is the Mevo on?
Hey, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. It's 7:10 in the morning. This is Real News, broadcasting live from the FMT Insurance Studios. My name is Mr. Henry. Crown Plaza call number 865-888-TALK. That's 865-888-8255. How you doing this morning, Ross?
Amazing. Thank you.
Amazing.
How are you?
I'm doing well.
I have something for you. I think you've earned it.
Okay.
All my brothers with beards,
You think I've earned it? No, not yet.
Got a little long stubble going on.
Yeah, it is true. So it's
Some would say it's a beard.
Elongated stubble.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, it's sort of beardish, I suppose. Yeah, well.
Eh.
This is about a week or two of growth going on right now. Yeah.
Well, happy Thursday to your beard.
All right, yeah, well, there you go. Happy Thursday to my beard. Hey, it is Conspiracy Theory Thursday. I have 2 or 3 things I want to bring up on Conspiracy Theory Thursday. We're going to start the show with a conspiracy theory that was relevant to the Barr hearings yesterday. Yeah, I'm telling you, I was listening to Senator Mazi, or is it Mazie? I'm not sure. Whatever, doesn't matter. Was this Hawaiian senator or CBS tell me? Yeah, that's right, Democrat from Hawaii. We'll just call her Democrat Senator from Hawaii. That'll work for now. She was going through her little tirade yesterday, just excoriating Barr. Man, I'm just going to tease this right now, Russ, because I stumbled upon one of the best conspiracy theories I've discovered in quite some time. Don't you dare start laughing. This is serious. Okay. This is a totally serious conspiracy theory, all right? All of yesterday needs to be taken seriously. That is the theme of today. All of yesterday, the whole Barr hearing was legitimate. It's something we needed to hear, and it was brand new information, okay? All right? It's gonna change the voting populace's mind. We needed to get it done, okay? We needed to have Barr answer serious questions. Now, well, fair to say that no one really asked him any questions. You just kind of sat there and got yelled at for 5 hours, but whatever. We needed to hear it, all right? I also want to go through maybe in the 9 o'clock hour. We have a guy on next week. He's the author of Angels Don't Play This Harp, I believe.
Yes.
Now, that will be a very, very heavy
excited.
Conspiracy Theory Thursday. So I thought what I might like to do today is actually just go through a little bit, not a lot maybe, but at least a little bit of even what the history of a conspiracy theory is. Do you know what I'm saying? The term conspiracy theory started, I don't know, was that mid-50s, 60s? Probably even earlier than then. But it'd be interesting, I think, for the Real News audience to consider, all right, how did this term conspiracy theory actually become ubiquitous across our culture, right? It won't tease that too much. The idea being that a conspiracy theory was coined so that you could immediately sort of preemptively label the JFK assassination, for example. Maybe that's when it started, or at least some people cite towards that as to when it started. Once people start asking weird questions, fringe-style questions of, hey, man, wasn't there a first autopsy that was done? And didn't they lose that autopsy or burn that autopsy or something? And then they brought the body back and did a second autopsy. What happened? What happened to that first one? Why did they do a second one? When people start asking those questions, the government, CIA, whoever might throw in there, hey, that's a conspiracy theory.
What happened first, the moon landing or JFK?
The moon landing, because the moon landing happened during JFK's period, I believe, right?
It started there then.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Is that right, Facebook? Yeah, the moon landing happened during JFK. Good Lord, I'm losing my mind. And we'll figure that out. Put me on the spot here, Ross. We'll figure that.
My bad.
Let me get this first. What happened?
I was going to say, we got Google for a reason, okay?
Or JFK.
Google's a lifesaver.
That's right.
And a live radio saver.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, so you got Texas, September 12th, 1962, realized in 69. We'll figure that out. Okay, this is one of the worst things
You
journalists
can't
ever done.
read?
Yeah.
What's going on?
That's another conspiracy theory today, Roz. That apparently Democrats forgot how to read. I'm going to get into all this going forward. But
I don't think that's a conspiracy theory. I wouldn't coin that one. No, I wouldn't.
Right, yeah. All right, no. Facebook just corrected me. No. JFK assassination 63, moon landing at 69. All right, there you go. Best audience in the nation.
Okay, so you're right. You're right.
Yeah, whatever I said was right.
Okay, yes.
I think I said
right.
that the assassination happened after the moon landing. All right, so there you go. That's right. Real news audience always keeping me collected here. Be quiet. Yeah, JFK assassination 63, moon landing at 69. There you go. Here's for CTT. I'd also, like I said, I'd like to go back through what the term conspiracy theory even was. It was meant to write off people immediately. So if you get Alex Jones, right, if Alex Jones is all of a sudden causing a big stink and people are actually listening to Alex Jones, man, this guy might be, the turn of the frogs gave. People actually figure out that, well, there's actually science behind to back that. We can't have the people be looking into that. So you can take that sort of lens, extrapolate it a little bit, and then view it through.
Once so many, once they hear conspiracy, they're like,
yeah.
And they throw it off and don't think about it or research it.
Well, no, as
some of us hear conspiracy theory and dive right in.
Yeah, no, as you've been trained to do, not you, Roz, the proverbial you has been trained to do.
Right.
Once you hear the term conspiracy theory, you think yourself immediately one of two things: either immediately write it off, or, as Mr. Henry tends to do, go into a conspiracy theory thinking, all right, I'm going to take everything with a heap of salt, right? With not just a grain of salt. I'm talking like, man, I really have to vet the entirety of this claim before I even start to believe some of that stuff, right?
I'm opposite from that.
No, I know. I think a lot of people would say, no, I've been lied to so much by the CIA. It makes sense now that I should follow my own truth path, right? Here's what I want to start with this morning. What I said is going to fit into CTT. We have a lot of headlines. Obviously, the biggest one coming yesterday. That's old Attorney General William Barr. I didn't mean old. I should have said O-L apostrophe. Old William Barr went over to the Senate. And, man, they just grilled the guy. And I'm still kind of stuck wondering about what or for what particular reason. I was actually talking to my buddy Shine about this right after the show yesterday, and we both kind of came to the agreement of, dude, whose mind is this going to change? Now, obviously, Shine and I got much more into the details of what our analysis was, and I'll give a lot of that going forward. I do believe, I don't want to hide the ball here too much, I do believe the primary intention of what happened yesterday was so that Democrats could discredit Attorney General Barr prior to Barr coming out and being the one that gives revelations to all this stuff the Republicans are about to reveal. Now, that's not incredible analysis. I'm sure somebody else is going to say that. I'm sure you're going to hear it on Rush this afternoon, and I'm sure you probably already heard it from somebody else. But that seems to be exactly what was happening yesterday. I say that because I have about an 8-minute clip that I want to play. If you listen to anything from yesterday, I would probably direct you to, one, listen to Lindsey Graham's opening statement just because they're funny. Lindsey Graham drops the F-bomb on the Senate floor, which is just, not the Senate floor, I think it was the Senate Judiciary Committee. It's just really funny to hear Lindsey Graham dropping the F-bomb. He was quoting a text from Peter Strzok that was talking about President Trump, or then I guess President-elect Trump, whatever. But listen to that just to make yourself laugh. And then I would say listen to Ted Cruz, if you're not going to listen to it on today's program. Listen to Ted Cruz, Senator Cruz, about 8-minute spiel here. He goes through two things. He sets up the entire situation of, what are we doing here today? You Democrats have access to this same exact information that I have. Your whole claim today is that you're frustrated that Mueller sent a letter to William Barr. This is the whole controversy, just so y'all know. This is the entire controversy. Senate Democrats are now upset, I suppose Democrats in general are now upset, that this Mueller letter has been revealed. So a couple days or a week after, I don't remember the exact timing, a short time after, Barr sent his letter with the classifications of the, what did they say, the primary findings. Barr's whole thing was, okay, look, now that we all know, now that the country knows that the Mueller report has concluded, it's going to be a long time until I can get this information out and continually work with the Mueller attorneys to redact the proper information. In that meantime, I don't want the media to run rampant with these speculative sort of left-right scenarios of what it could be or what it could not be. We are already in a politically divisive time. So to stop that from happening, Barr sent out his primary conclusions, or rather Mueller's primary conclusion is what it was. Now, after that was sent out, Mueller sent a letter to Barr, and they had a phone conversation. Barr actually covers this yesterday. During that phone conversation, Mueller said, hey, I don't have a problem with your primary conclusions, or at least the synopsis of my primary conclusions that you sent out. I don't have a problem with that. What I do have a problem with is the media speculating on those 10 scenarios that you mentioned. Would you do this for me? There's 17 pages that are a summary of the 10 scenarios. Would you send those out? And Barr's conclusion to Mueller was, no, I'm sorry. Because what's going to end up happening is we're going to piecemeal this Mueller report, your report. We're going to piecemeal this thing for the next 2 months, and it's going to be absurd. I'm going to send out the summaries, and then the left and the right media are going to go back and forth for another 2 months, and then I'm going to send out the entire 400-page report. I'm not going to do any of that. I'm just going to send out the entire 400-page report. So not only can there be proper context, we'll stop the nonsensical back and forth. Now, Mueller wasn't exactly appreciative of that, but I'm sure he understood. So Senate Democrats are frustrated now that there was a 2-week delay between when Mueller wanted the 17 pages worth of a summary and Barr saying, no, I'm going to delay it for at least 2 weeks so everybody and their mother in this whole country, you representatives included, can read the real thing. I don't know what we're arguing about now. 720, hit this break, come back, and I'll tell you, man, a dramatic conspiracy theory that I finally stumbled upon. I'll put it this way, okay? Chuck Schumer, it was reported back in 1993 that Chuck Schumer, while he was in Colorado, had discovered he had superpowers. I'm not kidding, Russ. He had superpowers. And he's figured out a way to synthesize that superpower, bottle it, and he's now given it to the other Senate Democrats on this Judiciary Committee. I'm totally serious. I'll tell you what that superpower is when they get back. 7:21 now. Be right back.
All my
Oh, man, that'd get us in some trouble, Chris. Hey, thanks for the help on that JFK moon landing thing. Good Lord, that was a terrible graph, wasn't it? Heather, we missed you too. What are y'all? What a terrible camera angle. Why are you doing that? Yeah. Yeah. What do y'all think about the Conspiracy Theory Thursday, going over what a conspiracy theory even is? I think y'all are gonna like the superpower. It's so stupid. I think I might be the only one that likes this superpower. I find it to be very funny.
General Barr, thank you for your testimony.
I also found this yesterday. Hang on, I'll show you Facebook. Come on, YouTube.
That most Americans want to freely give portions of their labor to the state for distribution by the command economy.
I found this exclusive clip. All right, highly exclusive clip. These are Senate Democrats. I think I realize now why they were so frustrated yesterday with William Barr. Because they needed William Barr to tell them everything that was in the Mueller report. Now you ask why in the world would the Democrats need William Barr to be the one exclusively to let them know that was in the Mueller report? Here's I have this clip right here. These are Senate Democrats. Somebody brought a microphone in, and this is them reading the Mueller report. Listen to this.
What was a good girl who wanted to cut out you're gonna get us in trouble.
Today, Junior?
What was today, Junior? That's the Senate Democrats reading the Mueller report. They just couldn't read it. It's not their fault. You know what I mean? Oh, it's so funny. $7:25 in the morning.
Real news. Hey, being that we only have 5 minutes until this hard break, I may have to hold off on the superpower thing for just a minute. I really want to give this a whole segment because I'm telling you, man, it's too good. Facebook just realized a little bit of what I'm talking about. By the way, Roz, I don't know how this happened, but if you're looking for our podcast that will automatically, it does automatically update to iTunes and to Google Play Music and a few others right now. So one reason or another, it's not coming up as News Radio. It is, however, coming up under Mr. Henry. I don't know. So,
What?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what I did. I did something. I did something in the SoundCloud account. So whatever. I'll figure out how to fix that. But for the time being, if you want.
Is that your superpower?
Yeah, that's my superpower. Yeah, exactly. Anything associated with real news now, just Mr. Henry. Anyways, look, if you're looking for our podcast, and it's a commercial-free version of the podcast, you still have the fantastic intro songs and the bumper songs and the outro songs and all that stuff. But if you're looking at that podcast, iTunes, just type in Mr. Henry. It's usually one of the first 3 things that comes up. And Google Play Music, I think it's the only thing that comes up if you just type in Mr. Henry. Now, again, what I did there to make that happen, I'm not exactly sure. I may just keep it as Mr. Henry because apparently nobody else is going under the podcast name of Mr. Henry. But whatever. Mr. Henry, you'll find all that stuff. Facebook, loving you up with those comments. All right, let me just walk you through an aspect of what some of this stuff called predictive programming is, or the way that we are, by we I mean the American populace, we're sort of manipulated to expect something. And then after this 30 break, I'll get into what the superpower Democrats are. I think it's a fantastic thing I realized. Remember Nancy Pelosi a while back, and I say more than a couple years back, when she was being hit by something, and they brought this back up during the Kavanaugh hearings because Nancy Pelosi was the one that laid this scheme out. And it's not necessarily a hidden scheme. It's something that all legislators eventually rely upon, I think. She laid out this scheme. It was like a back-end smear, or I forget the name that she called it. But what you end up doing is you state something either on a Senate floor or on a congressional floor or under some committee process, or you just state something to some reporter. Then they go report on that because you said it. And then later on, when you need to rely upon that information that you initially said, you then report back to the institution that reported that. Either New York Times or CNN or whoever reported that. So this is exactly what's happening. We all see this going on, right? This is exactly what's happening with the William Barr stuff right now. They are dragging this guy through the mud. They're not just dragging William Barr through the mud. I heard the senator from the Democrat senator from Hawaii yesterday say that basically everybody and their mother should have recused themselves. William Barr, Rod Rosenstein's little secretary, everybody that was at all even tacitly involved with this from the very beginning should have recused themselves. I guess hindsight being what it is, that's a bit of the superpower that I've discovered from Democrats. More on that in a minute. Obviously, what they're trying to do is when all this stuff funnels through William Barr again, what is this stuff? Okay, the IG horror report that's about to come down. That will focus almost exclusively on the beginning of the Trump investigation, the way the FBI operated. Everyone is seeing writing on the wall. And here's the thing. I think most Senate Democrats are starting to get, shall I say, worried that there may actually be more evidence towards some of those claims than there ever was towards the Trump-Russia collusion claim. We have the IG horror report. We have the Devin Nunes Seals indictments. We have Julian Assange, whatever he might leak, if he's going to be extradited to Virginia. We still have the unredacted version of the original FISA court warrant, the Woods trial. I mean, there's so much stuff that could potentially come down just about the beginning of this. And slowly, John Solomon over at the Hill, yet one more time. Let me find where this came. John Solomon over at the Hill released this today saying, hey, Nellie Orr, here's the headline. John Solomon, the Hill, May 1st, Nellie Orr's hi honey emails to DOJ about Russia collusion should alarm us all. We have one of the top people with Barack Obama, who now also has been wrapped up in a scheme that the Ukrainian government told us in 2014 that he should have been indicted then with Paul Manafort. This is another thing John Solomon reported on, that the Ukrainian government came over in 2014 and gave us a bunch of information about Ukrainian parliament members that were trying to influence elections and Ukrainian parliament members that were trying to funnel money through these unregistered foreign agents. Paul Manafort was one of them. Rick Gates was one of them. But they also gave about a dozen other names, a lot of which were Democrats. Now, what did the Barack Obama administration do? They said, all we want is Paul Manafort's name. Well, Ukraine thought that was strange in 2014. They found it even more perplexing in 2016 when they brought that same government officials over and they said the same thing. Yes, here's some information on Paul Manafort you may need about being an unregistered foreign agent, but we also have a bunch of Democrats. Don't you want that? The Obama administration essentially said thanks, but no thanks. The point being is there's a lot of information that's about to come down that may actually have more substantial information about wrongdoing, and maybe there was an actual coup. Maybe 2.5 years ago, when Colonel Tony Schaefer came on this program, and you remember Shine asking Colonel Tony Schaefer, one of the very first questions we ever asked this man when he was first on the show, are we currently in an intelligence war? And he said, oh, undoubtedly. Undoubtedly. Of course we're currently in an intelligence war. Maybe we actually have some information now. So what they're trying to do with William Barr is eventually when all this information comes through William Barr's mouth under testimony, which inevitably will come through testimony, Democrats aren't going to let him get away with that. They will already poison the well. You understand what I'm saying? This is coming from a poison well. You couldn't trust him before because of the Mueller nonsense reporting. You certainly can't trust him now. 7:31, be right back.
But every time I need to tell myself, a bunch of holes, you've been going it, just going it, you gotta roll.
Oh man, you talking about using fires to y'all talking about using fires to cover some stuff up. Ooh, there's a couple conspiracy theories locally. We can talk about that. What are you talking about, Mr. Henry? Nothing I'm willing to say anything on, lest I be sued. Where's that article Shine sent me last week? Maybe we go on this for a bit of Conspiracy Theory Thursday.
And dream big. And he says while things in Knox County are good, good is the enemy of great. The remarks came from Jacob's budget presentation yesterday. It was the first of his administration.
Grant, listen to this. I want to play this so bad, but it just doesn't fit in with what you're talking about right now.
You use the term the occupation of Palestine. I think what I meant is like the settlements, places where Palestinians are experiencing difficulty. Do you think you can expand on that? I am not the expert on geopolitics on this issue.
What you just said is one of the most insanely idiotic things I have ever heard.
We're here in Kansas City to rally for Brent Welder. We're gonna flip this seat red in November.
Unemployment is low because everyone has 2 jobs.
At no point in your rambling, incoherent response were you even close to anything that could be considered a rational thought.
Just last year, we gave the military a $700 billion budget increase, which they didn't even ask for.
She's confusing the entire military budget, Pete, with the increase.
Capitalism has not always existed in the world, and it will not always exist in the world.
Everyone in this room is now dumber for having listened to it.
It shows that Medicare for All is actually much more, is actually much cheaper than the current system that we pay right now.
Nancy Pelosi, do you recognize her as the leader for the House Democrats?
Of course. Well, I think absolutely right now, you know,
Go ahead, please.
She is the leader of
I award you no points, and may God have mercy on your soul.
Have you heard that clip of her? Some talk show I'm trying to speak quiet so it doesn't clip in Facebook, but some talk show she's on and they ask her about impeaching Trump, and she says, yeah, of course, and then they say, well, you know, what would you impeach him for? And she says, oh, there's just so much. There's so much. And they say, well, you know, just like what's one? They were on her side trying to say, well, what's one thing? And she said, oh, well, literally it's about a 7-minute ordeal, like 7 solid minutes, where she said, oh, there's so much, you know, clearly the emoluments. You couldn't even pronounce what emoluments was. It's just, we could do conspiracy theory on Alexandria Cortez. I'm serious. I kind of find it a bit of a conspiracy theory that she was even elected, the way that she got elected. We sort of like partially covered that, but
they literally pulled her out of their ass.
No, well, that's what. Remember, it was like a couple months back where I forget Phil, what's his name, reported on this and gave it to Steve Gill, who passed along to me.
Yeah.
It was that thing where they literally said, send us your profile shot, send us a video of you, and we'll give you everything else you need. Just send us what you look like, you know, like who you are, your personality or something. We'll give you the talking points, the money, the campaign, the staff, all of it. That's how she was put up, and people wonder why. How did she go from being a bartender to an elected representative? Well, because some conglomerate got behind her and said, just send us a lot of people actually, the conspiracy theory. Have you seen that video where she's dancing around? No? There's a video there where she's just like dancing on a rooftop. Some people actually think that was her submission video, which I don't know about that. Either way, the point is that same company is the same company that got wrapped up in that whole scandal about 714 South Gay Street. She had an office in 714 South. There was no employees, no furniture, right? They were using individual campaign contributions to give to a PAC, not illegal. And then that PAC would give it to an employer to give them political advisement, not illegal. What's illegal is if there's not an actual employer here, right? There's no, they didn't ever pay anybody because there's no friggin' employees in that office, right? And they did that same company did that same scheme in like 5 different other states.
I don't think it would be so far off, honestly.
No, well, according to what Phil was reporting, that's exactly what happened. Now the problem we have, though, is that everyone's taking this lady seriously when her own people didn't even take her seriously to begin with.
Yeah. I feel like it's definitely still don't.
Of love. Together we can help you beat this thing and erase addiction from your vocabulary once and for all.
Call 800-860-4006. 800-860-4006.
What's up?
Hey, just make sure you have that Hulu tab saved exactly to 403.
It is.
Okay,
I
cool.
haven't touched it.
Sweet.
Talk Radio 92.3 and AM 760.
Mostly cloudy skies in the forecast today. A few scattered showers and thunder showers, especially from Knoxville to the west. Look for highs 80 to 85 today, and then tomorrow only in the upper 70s with better coverage of showers and scattered storms going into Saturday as well. Highs in the mid to upper 70s then. Most of Sunday's dry. Could be back in low to mid 80s early next week. Find great gifts and pampering spa treatments for Mom at Spa 9700. All hobo bags and accessories 20% off May 10th and 11th only. From the 6th Storm Team, I'm Chief Meteorologist Matt Hinken for the East Tennessee Weather Network.
It's 63 at Talk Radio 92.3 and AM 760.
Uncle Lem's Outfitters is now open in Pigeon Forge at 2450 Parkway. Check out the new styles for spring. Great brands like Patagonia. Sale also applies at their 9715 Kingston Pike location in West Knoxville.
Traffic from the FMT Insurance Studios of Talk Radio 92.3 and AM 760.
We've got a big pile up here on I-40 eastbound just past Walker Springs. At least 3 cars are totally demolished. Move to the center right lanes to get by the wreck at I-40 eastbound. Passing Walker Springs, traffic already backed up to about Palisade Parkway. Westbound lanes not affected. Smoke still drifting over parts of Sharps Ridge. Broadway found a city from the fire. R&N Air Conditioning. How about a worry-free air conditioning system for $99 a month? Call R&M Climate Control at 229-6176.
Live from the FMT Insurance Studios of Talk Radio 92.3 and AM 760. This is real news. Join the conversation on the Crown Plaza call-in line, 865-888-TALK.
We're no strangers to love. You know the a full commitment's what I'm thinking of. You the other guy, oh, just won't tell you. Gotta make you understand.
Hey, 7:39 in the morning. Welcome back to Real News, ladies and gentlemen. Let's get into this right now. All right, so I set this whole thing up while William Barr was there. I told you that it had a little bit to do with some sense of predictive program. I told you already it had a little bit to do with poisoning the well. Not brand new commentary, not fifth level analysis. Everyone already sees this coming, yeah? Hopefully. But here's what I stumbled across yesterday, okay? Listen to, get this computer going, yeah? This is the Democrat senator from Hawaii, Senator Mazi, or Mazie, whatever you want to say. Just listen to her for a second.
When you called Mueller to discuss his letter, the reports are that he thought your summary was giving the press, Congress, and the public a misleading impression of his work. He asked you to release the report summaries to correct the misimpression you created, but you refused. When you finally...
All right, and I'm thinking to myself a little bit through this, didn't they read the same thing I did? Yeah? You created a misimpression. Well, it seems like they're begging for... everyone's begging for something to correct that misimpression, right? Let's put this in proper context. I agree. I get you. I'm following. She keeps going, though.
They did decide to release the report over a congressional recess and on the eve of two major religious holidays. You called a press conference to once again try to clear Donald Trump before anyone had a chance to read the special counsel's report.
And again, yet I'm confused. You did this and you did this, and in the past you did this, and you're responsible for this in the past, and you tried to clear Donald Trump, and I'm still thinking, but you now, Senator, have access to the same Mueller report that I would have access to. You now have access, and I heard William Barr during testimony yesterday, and this is very true. Obviously, what Senate Democrats are focusing now is not on the first part. That no one cares about the conspiracy aspect anymore because they know that's been unequivocally proven untrue. Is that right? Is that the best way to say it? No. Whatever. There's empirical evidence now to prove that there was no conspiracy ever. Everyone agrees on that. And if they don't agree, they have no idea what they're talking about, and you could shove that right back in their faces. So what everyone's concerned about now is the second part, the obstruction of justice. But William Barr came out yesterday and said that less than 2% of the second part was redacted. 6E materials, primarily what makes up that less than 2% of redacted material. So over 98% of the second part that everyone is now concerned about was available to everybody. So I'm wondering, if you want to put this in proper context, well, just do it. Just do it. Just read the stupid 300 pages and tell the American public what you think about. You are a qualified attorney. You are, in fact, an attorney. Half of y'all up here, if not 90% of y'all up here, were former prosecutors. You know what to do. But she keeps going.
Come to their own conclusions. But when we read the report, we knew Robert Mueller's concerns were valid and that your version of events was false. You used every advantage of your office to create the impression that the president was cleared of misconduct. You selectively quoted fragments from the special counsel's report, taking some of the most important statements out of context and ignoring the rest. You put the power and authority of the Office of the Attorney General and the Department of Justice behind a public relations effort to help Donald Trump protect himself.
Yes.
Finally,
yes.
You lied to Congress.
Yes. All right, so I was still a bit confused. And Roz, you got that clip. It took me a long time to find this, all right? I'm going to play one more on my side, and then Roz says something that, man, this is groundbreaking stuff here, okay? So I was still a bit confused. Like I said, I was wondering, why they read the same thing I did. It's under that, if we can't do it now, that's no problem. It's under that Hulu at 4:03 exactly is, yeah. At 4:03 exactly, right. And I was still a bit confused, and then I heard her go on with this.
With him over the interests of the American people. To start with, You should never have been involved in supervising the Robert Mueller investigation.
You hear the incredible hindsight going on? You should have never been involved from day one. You should have never been involved. And I thought to myself, like, what have they stumbled upon? What have they discovered? Listen to this.
You wrote a 19-page unsolicited memo, which you admit was not based on any facts, attacking the premise of half of the investigation. And you also should have insisted that Deputy Attorney General Rob Rosenstein recuse himself.
Yes, listen. It's right. And this is where it all started to make sense to me. You got that clip? Yeah. She said, you should have never been involved. And you should have also forced Rod Rosenstein to recuse himself. All this stuff and this just incredible hindsight that they had. I'm wondering, it's almost to the level of being like superpower, right? This hindsight is so insanely accurate. And I wonder, and I thought to myself, does anyone remember, this is a very, very little, no one reported on this, but in 1993, Senator Chuck Schumer was actually going on a different name. He was working for the Denver Times at the time, going by a name of Jack. And this is actually a live report about a fire that was happening in Denver. And then reporter Jack, now turned Senator Chuck Schumer, shows up. And play that clip for him, Ross.
Wait, look, up in the sky. It's him. My God, it's really him. He's come to help us. Captain Hindsight.
Who's Captain Hindsight?
Captain Hindsight, the hero of the modern age. Once known as Jack Brolin, a reporter for the national news, the hero was born when a freak accident gave him the amazing power of extraordinary hindsight.
It makes sense.
From toxic spills to unjust wars, there is no task too large for Captain Hindsight.
Now he shows up on the side of the fire. Listen what he does. Listen what he does on the side. Listen.
Thank God you've come. What's the skinny? There's people trapped in that burning building, Captain Hindsight, and the fire is so massive we can't get to them. You see those windows on the right side? They should have built fire escapes on those windows for the higher floors, then people could have gotten down.
Right.
And then on the roof, they should have built it with a more reinforced structure so a helicopter could have landed on it.
Yes.
Yes, of course. And then you see that building to the left? Yes. They shouldn't have built that there, because now you can't park any fire trucks where you really need to. Well, looks like...
You get it? You understand? See, now I've understood for Conspiracy Theory Thursday. I get what Democrats are doing now. It all makes sense to me now. They figured out how Chuck Schumer back in 1993, he had the extraordinary ability of incredible hindsight. Just figuring out what should have been done in the past, and then everything in the future would have been okay again. Captain Hindsight was able to take his superpowers and somehow synthesize that down into a bottled form. And then he gave that almost like a sports drink formula to the rest of the Senate Judiciary Committee. Gave it to all the Democrats, and now they also have the power of incredible hindsight. Here's the one problem, though, for Conspiracy Theory Thursday. Raz, we got this computer going again. Here's the solitary problem, though, that they missed. That yes, they now have the power, the incredible power that Captain Hindsight gave them, that they can look into the past and figure out all their moments of problems, all their moments of indiscretions, and cure those going forward. Here's the one thing they forgot about, though. I was wondering, okay, so a lot of this could have been solved if they would have just read the same Mueller report that I read. I don't know why couldn't they have just done that? They had access to the same 300 pages that I had access to. Only 2% of that was redacted. They could have, and moreover, some of these people on this Senate Judiciary Committee could have went into that private room where that material wasn't even redacted. Here's the other problem, though, and here's where they missed. They didn't find someone with another superpower. What is that other superpower? Well, some little person, some little page that was working for one of these senators snuck a microphone into one of these rooms while these Senate Democrats were reading through the Mueller report. Here's a live clip. I mean, not a live clip. Here's an actual clip of these Senate Democrats in the Judiciary Committee reading the Mueller report. Listen to this.
What was a girl who wanted
He can't even read.
Cut it out, dude. You're gonna get us in trouble.
Today, Junior?
Today, Junior? That's what happened. That's what happened. Democrats, they forgot the superpower of being able to read. They had the wonderful superpower of hindsight, but they just didn't figure out the superpower of being able to read. It all would have been perfectly put together if they had incredible superpowers from Captain Hindsight himself. They could point out all the problems of the past and give us a solution going forward. You could have put it in proper context. In all sincerity, what I'm doing here today is making a mockery of this because they made a mockery of this yesterday. This was nonsense. It was the dumbest thing I've seen in politics in a long, long time. I didn't know any other way to cover this topic today. I didn't know any other way to cover this topic. I listened to about an hour and a half, and I got so fed up. And then Mr. Henry, doing politics, man, this is what I love to do. This is what fills me up. This is what encourages me and motivates me. I got so frustrated with this hearing yesterday, I turned the thing off after about an hour and a half. And I'm in the industry of I'm supposed to be listening to this stuff so I can deliver the information to you. It was just a nonsensical charade the whole day long with just yet one more platform. Dude, I read a headline yesterday. I had this saved in my pocket account. I'm not sure where it is. I read a headline yesterday. It was like 16 solid paragraphs solely focusing on how yesterday's hearing helped Kamala Harris and Cory Booker's presidential run. Really? Really? I'm not saying it didn't. I'm not saying it didn't. All I'm saying is, if you have a major publication that's what they're printing on is, look at how yesterday's hearing helped Kamala Harris and Cory Booker's run, clearly, to anybody listening, this had nothing to do with getting to the bottom of any sense of truth, of them actually being genuine about their concerns. It was a massive grandstand. Now, maybe we should have all seen that coming. But the despicable display that these Democrats that were trying to feign as if they were genuinely concerned, I'm just done with it. I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired of this whole scenario. So there you have it, Conspiracy Theory Thursday. Democrats have now discovered the incredible power of hindsight, but they just forgot to discover the power of how to read. Man, I'm telling you, they were close though, right? They were real close. 7:50, hit this break, come back with some Senator Ted Cruz.
Let me start by just saying thank you. You've had an extraordinarily successful legal career. You didn't have to take this job. And you stepped forward and answered the call yet again, knowing full well that you would be subject to the kind of slanderous treatment, the Kavanaugh treatment, that we have seen of senators impugning your integrity. And I, for one, am grateful that you answered that call and are leading the Department of Justice both with integrity and fidelity to law. That is what the nation rightly expects of our Attorney General, and I believe you are performing that very ably. I think this hearing today has been quite revealing to anyone watching it, although perhaps not for the reasons some of the Democratic senators intended. One thing that's revealing in the discussion and questions that came up, a word that occurred almost none at all, is the word Russia. For 2.5 years, we heard Democratic senators going on and on and on about Russia collusion. We heard journalists going on and on and on about Russia collusion, alleging, among other things, some using extreme rhetoric, calling the president a traitor. We heard very little of that in this hearing today. Instead, the principal attack that Democratic senators have marshaled upon you concerns this March 27th letter from Robert Mueller. And it's an attack that I want people to understand just how revealing it is. If this is their whole argument, they ain't got nothing. So their argument is as follows. Let me see if I understand it correctly. You initially, when you received the Mueller report, released to Congress and the public, heard Democratic senators, a word that occurred almost none at all, discussion and questions that came up.
Lane to Goodbye. 3 cars have been demolished. Eastbound traffic's backed up all the way back past Mississippi Parkway. Westbound traffic with rubberneckers is backed up from the wreck scene near Walker Springs all the way back almost to Paper Mill Road. That's the big problem. Lance Cunningham will give you the best deal. He does not screen his calls, so here's his private number. Lance Cunningham, 963-3100 for the best deal.
That felt good. That felt good. That felt good.
Cutie pie, pound those horse teeth.
B-A-Bay, B-E-B, B-I, Bicky, Bye, B-O-Bo, Bicky, Bye, Bo, B-U-Boo, Bicky, Bye, Bo, Boo. C-A-C, C-E-C, C-I, Sicky, Sai, C-O-So, Sicky, Sai, So, C-U-Sue, Sicky, Sai, So, Sue.
Get the idea, girls? Now we'll all join together on the letter D.
Yeah, I got the idea. Hey, Ross, can I get this computer going? All right, we may do this some in the next hour if you want to. If not, I'll go on to something else. Here's probably...
Do you remember the story behind that song?
I don't even know what that song was.
That was the Three Stooges. It's called Swinging the Alphabet.
I don't know.
Where they're trying to teach the alphabet. Well, on back when we had the ride, we had a studio full of people, and we were trying to get they were trying to get the Wi-Fi password. You know our Wi-Fi password's like crazy, right?
Yeah, it's like
so,
QX Batman symbol.
Right. So the
333,
Admiral comes in here and he's like, it's little I, little E, big B, little Z. And like they were dying laughing. So that's where the history of that song comes.
Awesome. Okay.
So we troll him with that one.
So that was our Wi-Fi password they were singing.
Pretty much.
All right, yeah. Well, there you go. That's not too far off, to be honest. All right. So in all sincerity, this is probably the only thing you needed. Just about 2 to 3 minutes here. I'm literally just going to play this and let this end this segment here. This computer good. Here's Ted Cruz, basically just laying out what happened yesterday.
A word that occurred almost none at all is the word Russia. For 2.5 years, we heard Democratic senators going on and on and on about Russia collusion.
Yep.
We heard journalists going on and on and on about Russia collusion.
Yep, vodka's
alleging,
worst.
among other things, some using extreme rhetoric, calling the president a traitor.
What?
We heard very little of that in this hearing today. Instead, the principal attack that Democratic senators have marshaled upon you.
What is that, Ted?
Concerns this March 27th letter from Robert Mueller. And it's an attack that I want people to understand just how revealing it is. If this is their whole argument, they ain't got nothing. So their argument is as follows, and let me see if I understand it correctly. You initially, when you received the Mueller report, released to Congress and the public a 4-page summary of the conclusions. Then on March 27th, Mr. Mueller asked you to release an additional 19 pages, the introduction and summary that he had drafted. And indeed, in the letter, what he says is, quote, I am requesting that you provide these materials to Congress and authorize their public release at this time. And the reason he says it is that to fully capture the context, nature, and substance of the office's work and conclusion. So you did not release those 19 pages at that time. Instead, a couple of weeks later, you released 448 pages, the entire report, which includes those 19 pages.
No. Yeah.
Do I have that timeline correct?
That's right.
So their entire argument is, General Barr, you suppressed the 19 pages that are entirely public, that we have, that we can read, that they know every word of it. And their complaint is it was delayed a few weeks.
Listen to this part.
And that was because of your decision not to release the report piecemeal, but rather to release those 19 pages along with the entire 448 pages produced by the special counsel.
Yes.
If that is their argument,
Here it is.
I have to say that is an exceptionally weak argument.
That person laughing was William Barr. That wasn't Ted Cruz that laughed. If that's their whole argument, I have to say that's an exceptionally weak argument.
Oh, I love it.
The only time I've ever seen William Barr smile his entire life, let alone laugh, was right then. If that's their whole argument, it's an exceptionally weak argument. Yes, well, yeah, it is. Why am I here? But what's going on? It's awesome. 7:58, news, traffic, weather, all that coming up when I get back. Some other interesting stories, maybe a slightly sad story that I've heard. Apparently 1 in 4 Americans feel they have no one to confide in. Kind of sad, man. Want to take a real news audience poll on that. Be right back.
amazed me. This guy's been getting a lot of traction recently. Andrew Yang. He's the guy that's pushing the obviously the universal basic income theory. A lot of people are all about this dude. Let me see what you think.
But not the last. So let's start with this. What prompted you to run for president? Where are you coming from? What's your backstory for folks who don't know you?
So I certainly was not one of these kids who grew up thinking they were going to run for president. I was born in upstate New York. My parents are immigrants from Taiwan. They met in graduate school at UC Berkeley. So my father was an engineer for GE and IBM. He generated 69 U.S. patents over his career.
All right, maybe this will make more sense.
If you heard anything about me, you've heard that there's an Asian man running for president who wants to give everyone $1,000 a month. And all of those things are true. We will take this case all the way to the White House and win, because the opposite of Donald Trump is an Asian man who likes math.
All right, in a crowded field of 2020 Democratic candidates, Andrew Yang is standing out. The former tech executive wants to give every American over 18 a universal basic income of $1,000 per month. Why? Well, let's ask him. Andrew Yang, Democratic candidate for president, joins me now. Thank you very much for being with us. Universal basic income, $1,000 a month for everyone, including, say, Allison Camerata?
Yes, that's exactly right. And we need to make this move because we're in the midst of the greatest economic and technological transformation in the history of our country. The reason why Donald Trump's our president today is that we automated away 4 million manufacturing jobs in Michigan, Ohio, Pennsylvania, Wisconsin. And my friends in Silicon Valley know full well that we're about to do the same thing to millions of retail workers, call center workers, fast food workers, truck drivers, and on through the economy.
Not to shorthand it, but there are people who joke that this is the robot apocalypse that's coming. You look at automation as a threat to the fabric of the nation, yes?
Yeah, very much so. And you can look around our main streets. 30% of malls and stores are closing in the next 4 years because Amazon is soaking up another $20 billion in commerce every year. So you don't think of that as robots, because robots don't just walk into the main street and sit behind the counter. But if you go to an Amazon fulfillment center, you'll see it's wall-to-wall robots. So this is all real. It's not science fiction.
Is Amazon the enemy?
Well, Amazon is a huge winner in this system that we built, and we need to make it so that more people can share in the progress that's being driven by all this innovation.
So universal basic income, $1,000 a month, is an insurance policy against the threat of automation.
Yeah, it helps give tens of millions of Americans a real path forward. And the thing that excites me the most is you can see that it would improve people's health, nutrition, it would elevate graduation rates, it would improve people's mental health, but it would help people make transitions in a time of historic change.
If you get pushed out of a job by automation, how's $12,000 a year going to change your life?
Well, I've looked at the numbers around the country, and I've spent the last 7 years helping create several thousand jobs in the Midwest and the South. And so $1,000 a month would be a game changer for tens of millions of Americans, but it would also lead to 2 million new jobs because of all the economic activity. It would make our labor force much more dynamic, because right now a lot of Americans are stuck in place and are having a hard time moving for different opportunities.
Why does the 1% deserve $1,000 a month, as does someone making $35,000 a year?
Well, if you look at our own country, Alaska has had a dividend for the last 38 years, and it's wildly popular in large part because it's universal. So it's not seen as like, oh, you get it, I don't, I'm giving it to you. Instead, it's just a right of citizenship in Alaska. And because of that, it's very popular. We should do the exact same thing in the rest of the country.
Alaska's got about 700,000 people and a lot of oil. America's got, what, 350 million people? Yes. And a huge national debt. This will add to that.
Well, it won't necessarily, because if you look around, again, one of the big winners from this process is going to be Amazon, and Amazon paid zero in federal taxes last year. So what we have to do is we have to join every other advanced economy and have a value-added tax that would give the American people a tiny slice of every Amazon sale and every Google search.
VAT often adds taxes and burdens on people who don't make that much money. You're talking about purchases on common everyday goods.
Oh, well, you can tailor a VAT so it falls more heavily on, let's say, luxury goods than consumer staples. But we need to make this kind of move, because if you have things like artificial intelligence, right now our income tax system will do a very, very poor job of getting some of those resources in the hands of the American people.
I want to ask you some questions on other subjects. You worked at Manhattan Prep. You ran Manhattan Prep, which is a test preparation company.
Yes, that's right.
Here in the city. It is the type of place that is now seen as tied up in this entire higher education machine complex. How do you see the college admissions scandal recently, and what's a way to solve it?
Yeah, so the college admission scandal is a symptom of all sorts of problems. I mean, college has gotten 2.5 times more expensive, even though it has not changed in quality, and the admissions rates have plummeted because of the competitiveness to get in.
The automation of getting in, the common application is a form of automation.
Yeah, that's one reason, but a lot of it is that people are incredibly stressed out about their children's futures, and so they think if their kid doesn't get into a certain school, it's going to be the end of the world. And you reflect on that, and you're like, wait a minute, why is that? And the reason that is that our economy has changed so that if you feel like if you don't get a certain sort of degree, then your child is going to have a very bleak path forward.
Do you think organizations like Manhattan Prep add to that anxiety by creating this place where people think they need to go to improve their test scores?
Well, what I did after Manhattan Prep was acquired is I went and started an organization, Venture for America, that helped train hundreds of entrepreneurs around the country because, in part, of what you're describing, which is we need to create a more diverse set of paths for our young people so they don't think they can only do one of a few things in a few places.
The president is having all kinds of issues on the border. He wants to alter, if not end, much of the asylum process. How would you solve what's going on at the border right now with more and more families coming over with more and more kids? How would you get them or process them more efficiently?
Yeah, so I'm the son of immigrants. I feel very, very strongly that this country has an important role to play. But we need to both secure the border and do a much more efficient job of helping process people who are applying for asylum under our processes. Because right now there's like a multi-month wait process. A lot of it is putting more resources to work and also giving people more authority on the ground, because right now a lot of people's hands are tied with bureaucracy.
Not judges? People who aren't judges, you want to give them more authority?
Well, to me it's unacceptable that you have, in some cases, like an 8 or 10 or 12 month waiting period. So it could be that we need more judges.
All right, you say you have qualifications. What is going to distinguish you? Why should Democratic voters pick you instead of the other Democratic candidates?
Well, I believe I have the right vision for the country to help create a path forward for tens of millions of American families who right now are being sidelined and swept aside by all these economic changes. And unfortunately, most political leaders do not want to confront the magnitude of this fourth industrial revolution that we're in the midst of. Now, because of my work in technology and business over the last number of years, I can see it plain as day, and I can see what we need to do to move our country forward.
Huh. Is that Russian? Heather, do you know Russian? What are you doing over here?
In the morning. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to Real News, broadcasting live from the FMT Insurance Studios. You may be listening on the 92.3 FM. If so, don't forget about that AM 760. What other stuff? WETR, that's right. Crown Plaza calling number. 865-888-TALK. 865-888-8255. Everybody in Facebook right now is telling me that they're Russian bots. It's pretty funny stuff. By the way, if you're looking for a job, great news. Eastwood Landscaping, voted best in landscaping. They're looking for motivated crew members willing to pay compensation of $11 to $15 per hour. Now, you can apply in person at 5547 Washington Pike, Monday through Thursday. That's 5547 Washington Pike, Monday through Thursday. Or just go online, like we millennials do, to eastwoodlandscaping.com. eastwoodlandscaping.com. They do the landscaping for the palatial estate that is the FMT Insurance Studios. Come on. Now all my Facebook folks are just typing comments in Russian. I'm serious. It's just a bunch of Russian comments showing up. That's fantastic. By the way, Facebook, if you want me to interact with the comments, or rather, if you don't want me to interact with the comments, go on Facebook and type in Russian. That'll work too. Just type in Real News Radio to your Facebook search bar. That's the handle for all of our social media nonsense. Actually, if you go to SoundCloud.com, you'll see on the right-hand side, just type in Real News Radio to SoundCloud.com. On the right-hand side, there's links. That's probably going to be the central hub for all of our stuff. There's links on the right-hand side there to Facebook, Twitter, Patreon, YouTube, Instagram, Twitch. I don't know, man. Half those, I don't even remember anymore, but they're all up there. Anyways, look, Richard just sent me a statement. Barr isn't showing today. Jerry Nadler said Barr was afraid of facing a skilled attorney. I hope after the last hour, after the last segment, you understand why Barr wouldn't be willing to show up today. It's just nonsense, man. It's just a massive charade. It's a big old satirical charade. Now you understand that that Democrats have the superpower of hindsight, but they forgot how to read. Everyone could have read that same report. Doesn't matter. Interesting stuff. I was playing in Facebook. Let me know. Maybe this is a topic you want to go on. I was playing in Facebook during the break here. A clip on CNN from presidential candidate Andrew Yang, obviously talking about his universal basic income. His whole push is, the exact opposite of President Trump. And this is his words. His exact opposite of President Trump is an Asian who knows how to do math and is promising you $1,000 a month. Chris actually had an interesting comment based on that in Facebook saying, this is from Alexander, was it Titler? A democracy cannot exist as a permanent form of government. It can only exist until the majority discovers it can vote itself out of the public treasury. After that, the majority always votes for the candidate promising the most benefits. With the results, democracy collapses because of the loose fiscal policy ensuing, always to be followed by a dictatorship, then a monarchy. Always to be followed by a dictatorship, then a monarchy. Interesting stuff. Heather said, does anyone here actually want anything from the government? Free money equals they are paying you. They own you. Why can people not see that? Nothing is free. Nothing is free. Yeah, that is true. Nothing is free. But people like to be guaranteed free stuff. They love their free stuff. Look at Alexander Cortez's stuff, right? It's also interesting to consider, though, to what extent are we willing to say that stuff is free or stuff is not free, or would Republicans say a similar thing? We just had Beto O'Rourke come out here and say, hey, I have a $5 trillion package that's going to be, it's going to save the climate, essentially. Now, Mr. Henry's opinion. I personally think what's inevitably going to happen if people keep pushing this green climate changing thing, if you actually start talking to industry experts, I'm not sure how much of the Real News audience follows along with me on this. Probably not much. Sorry, probably not many. But if you actually start out talking to industry experts, the cleanest form of energy production we have right now, and yes, I'm including solar, yes, I'm including wind, is actually nuclear. This is just what I'm getting from industry experts. Less carbon emissions. The total of our carbon emissions right now from nuclear is less than it would be from wind, or currently even is from wind, and less than what it is from solar. So maybe there's some silver lining there that we can eventually become France and have 78% of our energy production coming from nuclear. Look, man, didn't we develop that technology? I don't know. But here's what Democrats are obviously, some Democrats are pushing back a little bit, saying, hey, hold on. You Republicans have a problem with spending $5 trillion on a package to save the environment. Here's a headline from Wall Street Journal. Democrats Trump agree to aim for $2 trillion infrastructure package. Well, some of them agree. Some Democrats are pushing back now saying, well, hold on. You're saying we have a problem with a $5 trillion package for green stuff. Why do you have you're okay with a $2 trillion package for infrastructure? I'm not giving an opinion yet. I'm just asking if this is the same thing at all. Jones on the Crown Paul's call-in number talking about the Barr hearing. If you have an opinion on that, 865-888-TALK, 865-888-8255. I already told you my assessment of that. I made a mockery of it for the whole last hour because it was already they made a mockery of it. The only thing you really need to hear from the Barr hearing yesterday, one more time, if you want to have a little chuckle, go listen to Lindsey Graham's opening statement because he drops the F-bomb. It's funny. He's quoting Peter Strzok sending a text message about President Trump, or I guess President-elect Trump at that time, who knows. But the only thing you really need to hear is about the 8-minute clip from Senator Ted Cruz. And yes, I realize I was calling the senator from the Democrat senator from Hawaii. Trump is playing a little bit of defense right now as an offensive move. But I was talking to my buddy Shine yesterday, and we kind of agreed he needs to start playing offensive sooner rather than later. He needs to start pulling out the offensive stops sooner rather than later. Because the longer he waits to pull this out, and right now, like I'll play the analogy out as I did yesterday. Right now, what he's doing is anything that the Democrats hit back at him, he's just stalling to further frustrate Democrats. He's not yet using any of his ammunition. He hasn't fired a single offensive shot yet. And in so doing, his defense actually now becomes an offensive move because they're continuing to push this impeachment talk. Right now, the best they have for an impeachment talk is that you didn't trust William Barr for 2 weeks? Well, that's not enough to impeach a guy over. The better strategy, in my opinion, from day one should have been to fall on the legal assessment that Mueller put out there, that there is some reasonable version of obstruction of justice that you could hold the president accountable to. But Democrats want to put that blame on somebody else's head. Plus, they obviously know once they start pushing that, if they don't have any real substantial reason to push it, they're going to have to deal with the skyrocketing approval rates. Same thing happened to Bill Clinton. Here's a headline I want to get to, though, before I get to Jones' call here. Over the next break, is any of this stuff making y'all feel, isolated, alone? Is the political climate that we're currently living in, this divisive nature that we all have, are you finding that if and when you bring these conversations up to people, it's pushing you further away from people? Or just in general, because you follow media, because you watch the box in front of you? Do you get what I'm saying? Here's the headline from New York Post. Well, let me just play Shine. Goodness. Can I get this computer going, Roz? Here's our buddy Shine. Listen to this.
Just stop watching news on television.
Yeah, that's right. I'll post Shine back in the audience. Just stop watching news on television. It makes you feel bad, man. New York Post says 1 in 4 Americans feel they have no one to confide in. 1 in 4 Americans feel like they have no one to confide in. 1 in 4 people don't feel they have someone to confide in, according to new research. Even after sharing their feelings, 7 in 10 have held back how they feel or how they really felt from a coworker, friend, or a partner. A study of 2,000 Americans examined how daily stressors can affect mental health and what prevents people from seeking out therapy and additional help. The results reveal that 9 in 10 people admit to downplaying their emotions so they won't worry or burden a loved one. The survey conducted by One Poll on behalf of BetterHelp found that young people ages 18 to 30 are seriously withdrawn across the board. They were more uncomfortable than people over 50 discussing money, job stress, parents, or friends with a partner. Holding so many emotions back unfortunately causes those worries to manifest in physical ways. Results found that troubling sleep, bad focus, short temper, and poor eating habits all made it on the top 5 ways people's stress gets the better of them. 3 in 10 admitted that they're more prone to crying when stressed, and there's definitely some preferred places for letting a few tears leak out. Half, 53%, have cried in their car, while 2 in 5 have shed tears at a family event, and 34% have cried at their job. Walking down the street and the grocery store rounded out the other most common places people have cried. Sorry, grocery store. Grocery store. I don't know what a grocery store is. A grocery store. Have you found that in your own lives? I mean, I don't know. People that are suffering with some kind of clinical depression, I suppose you'd expect results like this, but these were not people that were polled, or at least I haven't been told so far that the people in this poll were people that were previously suffering from some sense of clinical depression. Are we all clinically depressed right now? I'm also somewhat wondering, does social media have any aspect to play in this? We're meant to be more connected than we ever were before, but I'm not exactly sure what we're connected to. It's certainly not connected to a full version of a human being. What are the stats you've heard? Upwards of 50%, possibly even higher, of communication is non-verbal. Upwards of 50% of human communication is non-verbal. So if you're texting your buddy on Facebook trying to be open with him about something, or if you're displaying your entire life on Facebook, half of what you're saying isn't even being demonstrated. You're not even illustrating half of what your actual feelings are. And the more that we pour into social media, the more that actually leads our life of what us being told is now being more interconnected than ever. We have a tendency to not connect in the other ways that we were before. I'll just hit you up on Facebook. I'll just send you a Facebook message. I'll just communicate with you on Facebook. Who actually has phone calls anymore? The tenor of your voice, the cadence of upon which you deliver a statement, how emphatic you are, the tones that you're using, that all has a lot to do with getting a point across to somebody. I mean, you listen to me every single day. You know how I do. But if you're just texting somebody as opposed to even giving a phone call, does anybody even make a phone call anymore? I don't know. I'm just genuinely wondering, ask these questions. Hit this break. It's 8:20 in the morning. Come back with Joan about the Barr hearing. Be right back.
Senator Harris. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Attorney General Barr, has the President or anyone at the White House ever asked or suggested that you open an investigation of anyone?
I wouldn't,
Yes or no?
could you repeat that question?
I will repeat it. Has the President or anyone at the White House ever asked or suggested that you open an investigation of anyone? Yes or no, please, sir?
The President or anybody else?
Seems you'd remember something like that and be able to tell us.
Yeah, but I'm trying to grapple with the word suggest. I mean, there have been discussions of matters out there that they have not asked me to open an investigation, but...
Perhaps they've suggested?
I don't know, I wouldn't say suggest.
Hinted?
Hey, Shine, you still in here? What do you mean? Offense after Mueller in Congress? Or after? I don't know what you mean. That doesn't make sense. Oh, offense. Not offense. Offense after Mueller in Congress. Clarify your statement, sir. I was vaccinated against depression. You guys are silly. Oh, I got you. Shoot. Should they go on offense before they talk to Mueller or after? I don't know, bro. See, I personally thought they should have went on offense before Barr. Do I think that? Why do you ask before Mueller? Just to set up the game before Mueller gets in there? Is that what you mean? Well, no one calls the crowd balls and calls them for Chris. Is there like 5 people that call that every day? I hear what you're saying, though. No, it is a very tough call, bro. Because if they go on offense before the Mueller thing is going to be exclusively dedicated. I hear what you're saying, though. The Mueller hearing is going to be exclusively dedicated to the Russia probe. So nobody's going to be able to bring that up, at least legitimately bring that up to Mueller. He's not going to have anything to answer on. Woods trial or anything the gang of A would be privy to, or the unredacted FISA stuff or IG horror reports. He's not going to have anything to say about that, but I do see what you're saying. It'll at least set up the scenario that will temper Democrats' push during that day. I'll ask the audience.
In the morning. Welcome back to Real News, ladies and gentlemen. Chris said in Facebook, I was saying, does anyone make phone calls anymore? By the way, our Crown Plaza call number is 865-888-TALK. That's funny. Yeah, I get it, Chris. Does anyone even make phone calls anymore? And then I throw out the Crown Plaza call number. Well, you know. A quick question for the Facebook audience and for the Real News audience also is getting in Facebook. Do you think we should, that Republicans, Trump administration, whoever's privy to this information, should they go on offense releasing details about the IG Horowitz report, actually starting to leak or release some information about the sealed indictments? Devin Nunes has already passed to the DOJ. Whatever is going on with the attorney from Utah looking into Uranium One deal, looking into the Clinton Foundation, possibly what might come down from Julian Assange, the unredacted version of the FISA court warrant that was allowed the FBI to surveil on Carter Page, the two FBI spies, if you want to call them, or informants, if you're a Democrat, if you want to call them that, the two FBI spies that they tried to plant in Trump's camp. Goodness gracious, the Bruce Orr, Nellie Orr connection. I mean, I don't know how much longer there's a treasure trove of stuff that Republicans could technically go on the offense with right now. Right now. But Facebook asked, very important strategery. What's the best strategery, as Bush would say? Should we start going the offense prior to Mueller? What is that? 26th he's showing up? Am I right, y'all? 26th, 29th? I don't remember what the date is. Facebook will tell me here in a second. I'm pretty sure it's the 26th. Mueller's showing up sometime in this month. Should we go on the offense prior to Mueller showing up? It's a very difficult question to ask. Well, not to ask, but to answer, rather. Yeah, Sean just said, yeah, offensive equals indictments. Right, exactly. Should we push that hard before Mueller shows up? Because this is what it'll do. It'll at least temper the Democrat response of the questions they're going to ask to Mueller, because they'll know that that's always in the back of people's minds. Well, the whataboutism is going to temper the entire conversation. Well, yeah, you're asking Mueller about this Russia probe, but Mueller has already proved that there's no Russian agent, there's no Russia conspiracy at all to speak of. So while you're sitting there questioning Mueller for 5 hours, what about all this other stuff that's actually legitimate? And it will also give Republicans a way to preface all their Mueller conversations with, we're going to ask you this stuff, but, oh, by the way, did we have conspiracy? No. What about all this other stuff going on? Now, Mueller won't be able to answer that stuff. That's fine. But the other side is, do you let Mueller lay out his entire scenario, let that basically fall on its face, because we already know there's nothing there, and then go forward with it? I personally think sooner rather than later is the better strategy. Sooner rather than later is probably the better strategy now. And there's a way you could slow leak, slow drip all this, right? Anyways, before I run out of time for Joan, I may carry her through the break if she's got a lot to say here. Joan's been hanging on Barr here. And what's on your mind, Joan?
Several things. I hope I get some time. First off, there's a scripture where Jesus speaks to the lawyers, most of which are in the Senate, are comprised of people with law degrees or former attorneys. Woe unto you lawyers who put burdens on other men's backs that you yourselves are unable to carry. And I just think it was a terrible show yesterday.
Yeah.
I disagree wholeheartedly. The press loves to chase shiny objects. I say, hold it all. Hold it all. Let them show every hand they got, and then throw it all out there. And while they're scattered around trying to come up with rebuttals to everything, to refute everything, you can get the truth out. If you start piecemealing this out, they'll start rebutting it and rebuffing it piecemeal.
Interesting.
You look at what they tried to do yesterday to an honorable man, and how just despicable it was. The only thing more despicable was the coverage on ABC, CBS, and NBC this morning. The snippets, the sound bites, the talking head political analysts who are painting the picture, ignoring everything that we've talked about this morning and going ahead with the mantra of the letter. The letter is worthless because, 2 weeks after that, like you said, everything came out. The 19 pages came out.
Yep.
The 448 pages came out. It is a weak argument, but the thing that bothers me is 42% of this country was actually made to believe that the Russians had actually altered votes in this country. And Rush has said that many times in that poll, that the media was capable of convincing 42% of our body politic in this country that actual votes. And Rosenstein, when they came out with the 23 indictments against the Russian bot companies that were faux indictments because they'll never see the light of day, he said at that time, in the press conference, that no vote was ever altered. That needs to be played every few minutes to remind the American public, but we've only ever heard it one time from Rosenstein. It's just made that one airing. And, this is the danger of a propagandistic media. Now, when you look at the irony, this was a Russian show trial yesterday, another one. Kavanaugh was one. I mean, there's been several of these. And everything that the media purports is leftist communist agenda. And yet they rail against the Russians, on the other hand, for trying to interfere in our election. But, they say nothing about Obama's spending taxpayer money and sending United States people over there to stir up opposition to Netanyahu.
Hey, Joan, I have a follow-up question for you. Can you do this? Can you hang through this break? Because Yeah, let me put Joan back on hold there because what Joan just said about letting the Democrats play their whole hand out. I think this is a fascinating topic for today, and this will be the 6th, 7th level analysis that I don't know if anybody else is going to be focused on. The timing upon which we play this game of chess or poker or whatever the best analogy is for you. Joan's assessment is wait until Democrats lay their whole hand out, and then we just dump everything. Mine is a little bit different, but I want to ask Joan some follow-ups because I'm not exactly settled on this yet. I'm bouncing back and forth between two things. I'll ask Joan the follow-up question. 8:31. Be right back.
What do y'all make of that, Facebook? It's not a bad strategy. It's not. I don't know if it's the most effective strategy. Here's my concern, though. When Joan says, I see what she's saying, let Democrats play everything they possibly have. I got two problems with that, though. We've already seen that Democrats can play something for 2 years. If we want to go back to the beginning, Democrats can play something for 3 years upon nothing, based upon nothing. For 2 years, we've heard that Trump was a Russian spy, a Russian agent, and there was nothing to it. Now, all Republicans said from the very beginning, well, there's nothing to it. We had a lot of pundits, though, like your Ben Shapiro's and the like, that were saying, well, let's wait for the evidence to come out. Once the evidence came out, now all of a sudden Ben Shapiro's saying, well, yeah, there never was a Russian agent, that's fine. But for 2 solid years, Democrats were able to drag this along with nothing. Now that they have a semblance of something, they could possibly play this out for another 2 years. That's my first problem. My second problem is, if Republicans wait for them to play out everything they potentially could have, if Republicans make a massive one-day dump of all of this stuff, or let's say it's a 1-month dump, I don't know if the American people can handle all that. You get what I'm saying? One dump alone would take so much time to properly parse and put in context and reveal why it is such a bombshell, if you want to use that word. I mean, any one of these things. Good Lord, dude, the unredacted version of the FISA court alone would be groundbreaking, let alone, I don't even know how many sealed indictments Nunes has given to the DOJ. The IG Horowitz report, I mean, dude, let's speculate and say that's a couple hundred pages. That alone is going to take about a month to parse out, find the gems out of, and put in context. What I'm saying is, if it's a one-day dump or a one-month dump, or they wait until Democrats have played everything out, I don't know if there's going to be enough time to make full sense of it. And if they wait until Democrats play everything, it's going to unfortunately look like that Trump is playing a I don't know, man, what's the best word? Not a revenge game. He's going to try and spin. It's going to be put on that Trump is trying to spin away from the Democrat impeachment talk, or away from the things that he needs to be legitimately held accountable to, or it's just reactionary. I'm missing the right term. Someone on Facebook tell me the term I'm looking for, but you hear what I'm saying, right? First of all, Democrats could play this out for far too long, because you've already seen they did. Secondly, I don't know if Americans are capable of handling all that information at one time. And third, if we wait until after Democrats have done their thing, it's gonna look like Trump is just pissed off. It's reactionary. It's some sense of retribution. It's spin away from. I'm missing the term, but you know what I'm saying. Well, yeah, sure. Yeah, sour grapes. That's probably the easiest way to put it, right? And Norm, to your comment, man, I thought Barr popped the redaction bubble. There's clearly nothing new learned about obstruction with the unredacted version. Barr said this yesterday, that everybody is now, nobody is concerned, even Democrats, nobody is now concerned about continuing to push the conspiracy theory, because the conclusion at the end of the conspiracy theory is that there was no efforts to collude, there was no efforts to conspire. None, period. Over. So everybody's now turned to focus on the second part, which is obstruction of justice. Now, obviously, I think it's a very, very good talking point that Republicans may have played out already of there was no crime to obstruct, fine. But Barr said yesterday, less than 2% of the second part was even redacted. And the majority of that 2% was 6E material, grand jury indictment material, unrelated to this particular occasion. He couldn't redact that even if he wanted to. The point being is 98% was already unredacted. And the fully, sorry, yes, that's right. And the fully unredacted version that some of the Senate Judiciary Committee saw. So one might be able to reasonably speculate that 99% of the entire report that they're concerned about, they already saw. And you're exactly right, Norm. You're seeing 99% of the portion that you're concerned about, and there's nothing new. If you had something new, you better dang well deliver it on this floor right now in front of Barr's face. Yeah, that's another interesting point too, Chris. Judy, I'm starting to get a little bit concerned by that too. That Trump is threatened for a very long time. John Solomon's been releasing piece after piece after piece of what's coming down. I got another John Solomon piece today about Nellie Ohr's involvement. I'm starting to get a little bit concerned too that, now I don't know what you mean by this, Judy, of saying Trump's threatened Democrats for so long. It's like a parent who says over and over again to a child, but yeah, you're right. Anyways,
Big
here we go.
holes in the side of your home. You want to get rid of the carpenter bees? Call Dayton's Pest Control today, 588-6686. I'm Pete Michaels.
A U.S. politician claims in chilling echo of Cuban Missile Crisis that Russia has secretly installed nuclear missile. They've done something bad. Russia sucks. Breaking news. Russia's not to be trusted. They are the worst. The color red is bad. You should hate ice hockey. What other stuff? Vodka, no more. Don't drink it. It's gonna be laced with poison or something. I don't know. just Russia's a bad country. That's what we need to know. That was so close to being good. Here we go. That may get me kicked off Facebook, but hey, man, there's nothing better than Tears for Fears shuffle grooving it out. You know what I mean? All right, so I'm going to go back to Joan here. Before I bring Joan on, Joan, here's my thing with Jones. Joan has a great idea about the strategy of saying, and here's the whole thing that brought this conversation up, all right? In Facebook, buddy David Shine Thompson asked, all right, ask the audience when Republicans should start going on offense. Now, I said already, what do we mean by offense? The I.G. Horowitz report, the Devin Nunes sealed indictments. I mean, all that stuff I went through, okay? Then you get it, right? There's a lot of stuff we have in the bag that we could dump right now. Now, the question becomes, Mueller is set to testify up on the hill over there, May 26th, 29th. I could just Google that during the break. I'll figure it out. The question was, should we go on the offense and start dumping a lot of this stuff prior to or after the Mueller hearing? And I guess the better idea for what Joan is talking about is, should we start going offense prior to, contemporaneous with, or after Democrats play their whole hand? Now, Joan just said, let them play their whole hand, fall on their face, let America realize they got nothing, and then dump reality on their heads. Not a bad strategy. Seriously not. There's a lot of benefits that could come to that. I want Joan to listen to me off air, then I'll bring her back on to respond to this. Here's where I'm coming from, though, Joan, is... I'll bring on Joan right now. Joan, just so you can hear me live on air. Here's where I'm coming from. A three-part assessment I got with this. We've already seen, though, that Democrats for 2 solid years can play out something based upon no evidence at all. For 2 years, they've told us that Trump was a Russian agent, and it turns out there's been nothing to substantiate that. So they could play this out for 2 years. My other problem with this, though, is once they dump this, I'm not sure if Americans are going to be ready for a non-piecemeal version of this. I'm not sure if Americans are going to be able to handle a full, massive dump at one time of, goodness, just the sealed indictments alone. I don't even know how many Nunes has to push down. We have an attorney in Utah right now that's been looking into the Clinton Foundation, the Uranium One deal for years. I.G. Horowitz report is possibly going to be a couple hundred pages. That's also going to take a long time to parse out. The last part here is whatever Trump pushes out there, the media is going to be able to spin. And lastly here, I would think that if Trump waits until after Democrats have dumped everything, it's going to inevitably look like the media is going to be able to spin that this is sour grapes for Trump. He's just trying to get some retribution. He's trying to spin away from legitimate things against him. What do you make of that, Joan?
Well, I just disagree with the whole thing. As a student of history and military history, you have to understand, I'm the only one, me and my sister, in our entire family that have never served for the United States military. And I was born just 7 years after the representative for Hirohito limped his butt across the deck of the United States, Missouri. And that still brings tears to my eyes because my Uncle Virgil saved about 75 to 125 Filipinos in the battle for the ballpark. And sometime when you have a few minutes, I would like to be able to tell that story of my Uncle Virgil. But getting back to this, you have to understand, what you're looking at is there, to make the best analogy, military analogy out of this that I possibly can. Ordinarily, I say yes. You be like General Patton. You go with what you got. You spearhead into the enemy, and as Nathan Bedford Forrest, you hit them firstest with the mostest, and you get them on the run. But there are times. Now you have to understand the Democrats are running. Just imagine them as an enemy on horseback riding through into a box canyon. Do you start shooting when the first ones enter, or do you let them all get in the canyon and blow them away?
I hear you.
This time around, and here's the thing, if you put it out piecemeal, they can destroy you piecemeal. That is what they are good at. One thing the press has never been hit with before is so much in so many places at one time. It is just like the deception in World War II of Calais as the place of invasion.
Listen, Joan, to your point, I got a guy named David Welch in Facebook, different David than David Thompson. David Welch in Facebook, I think, is putting your point exactly. He says, quote, never interfere with the enemy while they are busy destroying themselves.
Amen.
Interesting, right?
Amen. Because Because what's going to happen if you just hold back and let them go at this full blast, the bigger idiots they'll look like when all this comes down. If you hold it back and allow it to come down all at once, they're going to have to disperse their forces. Part of the news organization is going to be torn away going after the indictments. Part of it's going to be torn away having to go after this end and that end and refute. And it will drive them insane. Then we'll get a good look at the propagandistic overreach that our media is engaged in.
John, are you worried about this at all? Judy says in Facebook, Trump is threatening, and I don't know what she means by this, because again, what I go back to is you can't, 50% of human communication is through nonverbal cues, but either way, Judy says in Facebook, Trump has threatened for so long the Dems that don't believe he's going to release anything. Like a parent who said,
No, that doesn't concern me at all, because I think he realizes this grand strategy. You know, Trump is a person who realizes that they like to chase shiny objects. And he weed out. They'll spend days. He forces them to spend hours and days researching everything, every word of the tweet, denouncing, all this stuff. Meanwhile, he's off on a different tangent entirely. And so I think that he's smarter by half than all this. See, here's the problem. We can only play all these cards. It's like going down with a straight flush.
Yeah.
You can't throw the ace, 2, and 3 of clubs out there and expect to get anywhere with that except in Jim Rummy. You need the 4 and the 5 to go with it. All this needs to come down in one massive carpet bombing of truth this time. Ordinarily, my poor boy, when we would play that game of war or whatever, he would always want to sit and build his armies up, and I would crush him. I'd take what I had, and I would go right for his weakest point, and he would not know what hit him. I did it 3 times in a row to him. He never learned from it. These people are so arrogant, and as Mel Gibson said in the movie The Patriot about his archenemy, the British general, he said, his pride is his weakness, his arrogance. And the guys were saying, well, I wish we had more. And Mel said, well, that'll be enough. And I think, their arrogance, their overconfidence, they're chomping at the bit like a bunch of rabid dogs. Let them go ahead.
I hear you. Joan, we got to hit this break, and I think some of Facebook's on there with you. Might be playing this scenario out over the next couple of days, and appreciate hearing from you, Joan. We'll talk to you soon.
Well, I love you guys, and let me just say this. Coming to you this morning on the mighty 760 AM WETR Real News, the best bunch in the whole world. You treat Oz like the Queen of Oz that she is.
I love it, Joan.
See you guys later.
I love it. Love it, Joan. There goes Joan.
Hey, let's stop right there. Speaking of what Joan just said, I hope you know where I'm going with this.
Yeah, I know where you're going with this.
Yesterday, on air,
it was on air.
I walked away to go and actually be nice and get you coffee.
She brought us coffee.
Fresh coffee. Yeah. It was probably amazing. As I'm walking through the hallway, we can hear the station on, and I hear, Roz knows that. That's part of the problem. Please go ahead and expound on that.
Yeah, Victor Jernigan said, oh, yeah, Roz really runs the show here, doesn't she? She's the queen of the nest or something. And I said, yeah. And then as Roz was rocking away, I thought I said it under my breath so she couldn't hear on air. I said, yeah, she knows it. That's part of the problem. Look at her.
I guess I'm not aware of the problem.
Yes, I'm not aware of the problem. There's no problem, Roz.
Okay. Just had to call you out.
Yeah, that's no problem. That's what we do. We call people out here. So, hey, to Joan's point here from the Hill, saying Trump realizes that the media will chase after any shiny object. I'll say this. American populace are starting to realize the same thing. The Hill is reporting this. CNN's primetime ratings, that's not a word, CNN primetime ratings dropped a whopping 26%. 26% in April compared to last year. This is according to Nielsen Media Research. MSNBC's ratings were down 14% in April 2019 compared to April 2018. The sharp decrease for CNN marked its lowest rated month in total viewers since October 2015. Since October 2015. Goodness gracious, man. Hit this break right now. Going to go to Recode Michael after this break, introducing Conspiracy Theory Thursday. Biggest conspiracy theory in Knoxville ever. I'll put it to you this way. What if the Mueller report were to add another 150 pages tomorrow that no one told us about? And we voted on that for some reason. That's a terrible analogy, but it'll make sense here in a minute. Be right back.
I don't know. Inferred? You don't know. Okay. In your March 24th summary, you wrote
Kamala Harris sounded real presidential. Sounded real presidential.
quote, after reviewing the special counsel's final report.
I will say that no.
Sir, I'm asking a question.
Oh, listen.
In your March
Presidential.
24th summary, you wrote that, quote, after reviewing the special counsel's final report, Deputy Attorney General Rosenstein and I have concluded that the evidence is not sufficient to establish that the president committed an obstruction of justice offense. Now, the special counsel's investigation produced a great deal of evidence. I'm led to believe it included witnesses' notes and emails, witnesses' congressional testimony, witnesses' interviews, which were summarized in the FBI 302 forms, former FBI Director Comey's memos, and the president's public statements. My question is, in reaching your...
What? So you hear what she's saying? Why won't you just indict him so we can impeach him? Please. That's all we need. That's all we want you to do, William Barr. Please just indict the president so we can impeach him, so I have a reason to impeach him.
Or conclusion, did you personally review all of the underlying evidence?
You're saying it's Kamala, not Kamala? Forget that, bro. I'm putting the wrong emphasis on the wrong syllable for a reason. She doesn't get my, come on, the respect of actually calling her Kamala. She's Kamala to me. Just a grimy old Kamala crawling around. no, I didn't appreciate that though. It's Kamala Harris, not Kamala. Whatever, man. She's just Harris.
No, we took an accept. Did we accept it?
Mr. Rosenstein?
No, we accepted the statements in the report as the factual record. We did not go underneath it to see whether or not they were accurate. We accepted it as accurate. And they are,
so you accepted the report as the evidence?
Yes.
You did not question or look at the underlying evidence that supports the conclusions in the report?
No.
See, you know what's bad about this, bro? She's a prosecutor. I guess that's not what's bad about this. This is exactly what she's been hired to do. I was going to say she's a prosecutor. She knows how this process works. She knows that, but the American people don't know. I shouldn't be surprised by this. Whatever. I get it.
Did Mr. Rosenstein review the evidence that underlines and supports the conclusions in the report? To your knowledge?
Not to my knowledge. We accepted the statements and the report.
Did anyone in your...
Of the evidence.
Do you understand my concern? Do you hear what she's saying? What she's really asking, what I would respond with then is, why did you guys push for a Mueller then? Why did you even push for a special counsel? It was his job to give me the evidence. It was his job to interpret the evidence, wasn't it? I'm not the one that said, you guys hired this guy. Whatever.
That's right, guys. I make up all the rules for rise. Yeah.
Everybody wants to be my best friend.
Yeah.
It's infectious. Come on, don't you be jealous.
No,
Just like in this love fest, you know that it's all about me. It's all about me.
I think that's pretty applicable, don't you?
Too. I'd wanna be me too. If I was you, I'd wanna be me too. I'd wanna be me too. I'd wanna be me.
Hey, if I were someone listening outside of Knoxville right now, I would want to be me too. We got Recode Knoxville here, Roz. Bomb drop.
Aren't we lucky?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We got the best stuff in the world, the Recode. And
You don't live in a big city and they're not changing absolutely everything.
Yeah.
You're just not lucky.
yeah.
You're not lucky like us.
Hey, speaking of Recode, Conspiracy Theory Thursday, Recode Michael's on with this. What's on your mind, sir?
Well, let's talk about the biggest conspiracy in the history of the city of Knoxville.
Nice.
It's called Recode. So how do you like this? For 2 years, this has been going on, but the daily paper has had 3 articles. There have been 3 stories in WBIR, 3 stories in WATE, and I don't know about WBLT, but here's the bottom line. Less than 5% of the people know what this is. And they dropped Draft 5 yesterday, and nobody knew it. Nobody knew it. Draft 5 increased by 48%, 138 pages.
Tell them that one more time, Recode Michael. Don't even gloss past that, sir. Tell them exactly, because I read this email you sent us yesterday. Tell them exactly what you just said one more time. That is major.
Draft 4 was 287 pages. It is increased by 48%, 138 additional pages. Draft 5 is 425 pages. And it is not an improvement. It is a disaster. They don't know what they're doing. This product is horrible. And it will damage your property value if you allow this to happen. Let me tell you, this is the biggest cover-up in the history of this town. Black Wednesday was nothing compared to this. They're not going to have a workshop to discuss Draft 5. Not going to have a workshop for the people, and they're not going to have a workshop for city council. So basically, we have the deaf leading the blind, leading the stupid. They're just going to go in and rubber stamp this. It is a horrible product. And the very first thing I noticed is that they've gone back on their commitment. Remember, they said that the accessory dwelling unit had to be owner-occupied.
Right.
They've now changed that. They say one of the dwellings must be owner-occupied. This opens every accessory dwelling unit to government grants. What it does, and I think that this is illegal, and I think we should find a way to file a writ of mandamus. And for those that don't know what that is, that's where a chancellor tells the city council and the mayor to obey the law. What they're doing with the ADUs, basically, this is a unilateral voiding of all setbacks. So why do we have setbacks? Remember, when you bought your home, you had setbacks that guaranteed your privacy from you to your neighbor. That's completely being thrown out the window. It's illegal. We need something. We have a government that's out of control. There's another thing that they've done. They've not done anything with the mixed-use design. So we have a mixed-use design. For it to be ADA compliant, there has to be an entrance in the front and an entrance in the back. So let's say you own a jewelry store, a clothing store. Are you going to have an entrance in the front and in the back? Wouldn't that create a shoplifting problem, and wouldn't that create a security problem for the safety of your employees? Nobody is going to build those. Banks aren't going to loan money to build them. But their stupid design has the parking lot in the back and the front of the store facing the street. So old people and handicapped people have to go down a little side street, fight that big parking lot, go all the way around to the front, unless there's an entrance in the back.
Hey, Recode Michael, can you hang through the break for me, man? I want to pick this up on conspiracy theory. Is that all right? Yeah, we'll put Recode Michael on hold here. I want to hit this break, and I want to pick this up. I want to be for real about this, and I want to pull this into Conspiracy Theory Thursday. All right, I casually touched on this with Sherry Voluntary on Tuesday, and we did it in a slightly satirical manner, but being that it is Conspiracy Theory Thursday, I just kind of want to throw it out there, y'all. Seriously. We have the situation going right now. Let's nationalize a local issue. Can you imagine if William Barr, 48% of the Mueller report was redacted? Let's go one step further here and be for real about what I think Conspiracy Theory Thursday should be pertaining to Recode. Y'all, this may be an inherently racist document. I'll leave it.
Getting real controversial. Hang on, Facebook. I'm leaving y'all with the vid, yeah. It was just sent to me.
Without Attorney General Barr the day after he sparred with Democrats at the Senate, some calling for his resignation for how he handled evidence of obstruction of justice.
The deputy and I felt that the evidence developed by the special counsel was not sufficient to establish that the president committed a crime.
Fox's Rachel Sutherland live in Washington.
Dave, Democrats in the Justice Department are at odds with the Democratic Committee Chair Jerry Nadler's decision to have staff lawyers ask questions. Republican Doug Collins is ranking member.
You'd rather have a staff member ask questions and throw this up and really intentionally sabotage his own hearing.
Nadler says he may subpoena the Attorney General.
When push comes to shove, the administration cannot dictate the terms of our hearing in our hearing room.
Nadler also threatening to hold William Barr in contempt of Congress if he doesn't hand over the unredacted Mueller report with underlying evidence within 2 or 3 days. Dave?
Rachel, yet.
You want to know what I say to that? Do it then! Do it! I bet, Jay, you may threaten to subpoena him, then do it, man!
Well, we're figuring it out. Yeah.
Here's your old girl, Hillary.
And we're in the middle of figuring it out still. We are. I mean, I don't know when we're going to get Mueller's testimony, and I don't know how that's going to happen, but I feel like that's something that a lot of this is really hanging on. I actually want to ask you about one sort of sidebar issue that came up in Mueller's report that has since been added to by the New York Times. It's about you. Mueller's report says that in October 2017, President Trump met privately with then Attorney General Jeff Sessions and asked him to take a look at investigating Clinton. Then, this past week, the New York Times has reported that last spring, 2018, Trump also asked Don McGahn, his White House counsel, to get the Justice Department to investigate you and former FBI Director James Comey. Today, the Attorney General refused to answer questions as to whether the White House had ever directed him to initiate specific investigations. You're the only person in the country whose opinion I want to hear in response to those developments. What do you make of that?
Well, what I make of it is this is as big a sign of a guilty conscience or a real fear that you could possibly have. I mean, I'm living rent-free inside of Donald Trump's brain, and it's not a very nice place to be, I can tell you that. So I don't know what they're talking about. Yeah. I've been investigated repeatedly by the other side, and much to their dismay, but to my, satisfaction, it's been for naught. I testified for 11 hours in the Benghazi hearing after, 7 committees said there was nothing there. This is a diversion attack. Look, it is very sad to me that the lies that were told about me, the accusations that were made about me, have unfortunately had some residue. People say, well, if she's going to be investigated so much and they're going to be saying all these terrible things, even though nothing ever happens, maybe there's something to it. Because I guess it is one of their tools to fire up their hardcore base. Mm-hmm. When in doubt, go after me.
But all these Republican senators today echoing it. Senator Griffin.
Oh no, Facebook. We all just left with dead air. Y'all just been left with dead nonsense for how long? Oh jizz. Sorry about that. Hey, do y'all know about this? Do y'all know about this? It's on Funny or Die. It's one of my favorite series they do. They basically they show, it's a whole series about how Zach Morris from Saved by the Bell, that character is like one of the most sociopathic characters ever. Hang on. Why is this camera angle just stuck on the zoomed in? Give him. Here, listen to this. It's funny.
Zach Morris is trash.
It's winter break at Bayside. Jesse, Slater, and Kelly got jobs at the mall. Lisa is volunteering at the hospital. And Zach is sitting on his lazy blonde ass eating cookies. Zach is at the mall, bothering Slater and Jesse at their jobs, when he bumps into a girl. She says she's late for work, which Zach hears as an opportunity to stop her twice and make fun of her for only having an apple for lunch. Screech had an accident with his new doll and cleans up in the bathroom. A nice stranger offers advice on how to dry his pants faster. Zach notices him shaving and tells Screech to check out that homeless dude, then scolds him for looking. The homeless dude says he's lightheaded because he hasn't eaten all day. Zach continues to bother him while he shaves, then leaves a whopping $3 behind in a payphone. Probably because he didn't want to touch his icky homeless hands. Zach wishes him a Merry Christmas with a smug grin on his face, because $3 will definitely put this guy's life back on track. Zach is roaming the mall, hunting the girl who ran away from him, and bothers Kelly at her job. He finds his target, named Laura, and offers to take her to lunch because he knows she only has an apple to eat, something he once again goofs on. Laura's considering lunch with Zach because she's starving when Zach sees the homeless guy. Zach lets everyone know how great he is for giving him money earlier, but adds he hopes he doesn't spend the $3 on wine or super cheap heroin. Laura says she's lost her appetite. Zach sees Laura in the food court. He apologizes, saying he doesn't know much about the homeless, and adds that in his neighborhood, the poor family is the one that doesn't have cable. Zach asks Laura where she lives. Laura says she lives with her dad. He asks where, and Laura says they're currently moving, and they move around a lot. Zach asks what her dad does, and Laura says her dad is between jobs. Then an emaciated Laura politely asks for a chip before scarfing down a whole bunch of chips. Zach connects none of these dots and makes fun of her for eating so many chips. Zach realizes he can make Laura like him with food and buys her ice cream, then takes her to Jesse's job and cuts in front of a bunch of kids to take a picture with Santa. Santa asks Laura what she wants for Christmas, and she whispers some deeply disturbing shit in his ear. Zach asks what she said, and before she can begin to say she's not sure she can tell him, Zach hands her a candy cane, more food, to put in her mouth so she can shut up about her problems. Zach's mom shows up, who has the same blonde hair to roots ratio as her son, and mentions the Christmas play she's putting on at the mall. Laura wants to be in the play, but is hesitant about asking for time off at her job on her first day. Zach tells her not to worry about it, and it's no big deal. Then, as she walks away, makes a really creepy comment to his mom that he finally knows what he wants for Christmas. Gross. Slater is struggling with his job wrapping presents when the friendly homeless man helps him. He asks for some of the scraps Slater throws away. Slater generously gives him a whole roll and some ribbon. The homeless...
.09 in the morning. Welcome back to Real News, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Mr. Henry. Hey, a couple topics I'm going to get to today during Conspiracy Theory Thursday. Very interesting article that I was just sent on Facebook here. Suppose it doesn't necessarily matter who sent me this. Headline, where is this coming from? Newschannel5.com. Suppose this is based out of Nashville. Did House Speaker's office attempt to frame activist? DA asked for special prosecutor to investigate. Did Tennessee House Speaker Glenn Casada's office try to frame a young activist who had challenged Republican lawmakers during this year's legislative session? An exclusive News Channel 5 investigation has uncovered new evidence, including racist text messages that raise questions about the Speaker's $200,000 a year chief of staff. Now, Nashville District Attorney District Attorney General Glenn Funk has requested a special counsel to take a hard look at the case. Let's see. This is Justin Jones, student activist who was targeted by the Speaker's office, says this was an extreme form of retaliation where you are willing to lie to take away someone's freedom. Very interesting stuff. I have not gotten through all this yet. Just wanted to bring it up in case anybody has any other material on this. This story that was sent to me. If you guys want to talk about that, go ahead and give me a call on Crown Plus. Call number 865-888-TALK, 865-888-8255. Again, that headline is, Did House Speaker's Office Attempt to Frame Activist? DA Asked for Special Prosecutor to Investigate. I'm just throwing that out there right now in case someone has more information on the story than I do, or if you have an opinion on that story, give me a little bit of time, maybe during one of the breaks, to get through this whole article, source it with some other material. I'll give you my opinion on it possibly. We also have, during Conspiracy Theory Thursday, I may want to go through the history of what a conspiracy theory even is, possibly where that term came from, what it means going forward. Also, for Conspiracy Theory Thursday, I thought this would be interesting. Johns Hopkins University is now, their researchers have launched a study into the effects of DMT. Hallucinogenic molecule causes some to report encounters with entities. Let's see, the anonymous survey calling for those who have experienced strong effects. The headline of this article, Take Me to Your Dealer. Researchers call for anyone who's seen aliens, elves, and other entities after using hallucinogenic DMT to participate in the study. I just find it insanely fascinating that Johns Hopkins University would now start to research. It's one thing to research hallucinogenic effects. It's a totally different thing to research the similarity of what those hallucinogenic effects can produce. You understand where I'm going? And if you really, really want to get into conspiracy theory behind that article, Alex Jones brought up during one of Joe Rogan's podcasts his belief that Hitler and the Nazis actually used some type of hallucinogenic to communicate with alien entities to discover their purpose, I suppose, behind the Third Reich, behind the solution. I don't necessarily know, but Alex Jones' whole take on this thing was they were actually communicating with some different entities, literally transcendental communication. I'm not sure. It's a whole weird thing. Before we do that, though, let's go back to the biggest conspiracy theory at the hands of Knoxville right now. We just heard from Recode Michael is back on live with us right now. Recode Michael, thanks for hanging on so much during the break there with us. You just told us, buddy, a 48% increase from Recode Draft to Recode Draft 4, which was 287 pages, now to Recode Draft 5, which has grown to 425 pages. And tell me if I'm wrong here, Recode Michael. We have already had confirmation, I suppose, in our own email communications, or rather Richard Esparza's own email communications with pretty much every single city council member we can get in contact with, saying there will be no meetings, there will be no additional workshops on the 5th draft. Is this correct?
Well, not only will there not be a workshop for the public, there won't be a workshop for city council. They're just going to vote on it blind. Look, if you look at this thing, it is a train wreck. It has so many things are stricken out, and new things are put in. If anybody who has had college English, if you look at the draft and look at how the document has moved, they don't know what they're doing. This is above their pay grade. Now remember, Gerald Green himself, the executive director of the Planning Commission, said, we hired Camaros out of Chicago. We paid him $289,000. We expected we'd spend $11,000 in staff time. But Camaros, they didn't do what we wanted. They didn't do what we expected. We spent $200,000 of staff time. That's a $189,000 overrun. Our people in Knoxville were not prepared to create Recode. The experts that we hired pulled up lame. All they really did is they suckered them. They gave them a planning template and a PowerPoint presentation. They attended some public meetings for dog and pony shows, and then they said, we're done. See ya. They didn't even come to the 3 workshops in city council. And Gerald Green was there at all 3 workshops. Well, the folks from Camaros weren't available. See, we thought we'd have this done in December of last year, so they're off working other projects. We'll answer your question to the best of our ability. The greatest conspiracy and cover-up in the history of this town is this Recode social engineering project. It makes Black Wednesday look like a little children's tea party.
Okay, that's what I want to focus on, what you just said, right? And I go back one more time to Steve Hunley's article in Knox Focus. Go check that article again. It was just drafted. I want to say it was just published 2 or 3 days ago. It's one of the top things still up there. Now, towards the end of that article, I don't have it in front of me, but his whole idea is that the people of Knoxville are not having a voice on this. And I have to say, Rico and Michael, looking at what's going on right now, Draft 5 now including 425 pages, whereas Draft 4 included 287 pages, one would reasonably presume, and yes, I use those 2 words correctly, reasonably presume that there is something within those 425 pages that is going to alter what was not alterable before in the 287 pages. Am I right? I mean, that's the only way someone could see that. If you're adding on close to an additional 200 pages, there's something that's drastically different than what was in the previous 287 pages. Otherwise, why add another close to 200 pages on there? Now, if that's what's actually happening, I don't see how you could... I'm trying to be reasonable here, Rico and Michael. I'm trying to see this objectively. Mr. Henry's trying to play the character of Mr. Henry, but Grant is starting to seep through a little bit here, man. I've researched this on my own. I had actually someone contact me yesterday. There may or may not be a WBIR article that will cover this yet one more time. More on that possibly develop later. Nevertheless, I'm trying to develop what my actual opinion on this, but I'm telling you, buddy, things like this, an additional 287, an additional 48% increase, and they're not having a meeting on it. They're not having a workshop on it. Nobody, for you and I know, would even know what's in those additional pages. I don't know any other way you can interpret this right now other than something is trying to be pushed through that nobody has any knowledge of. And now, more than ever, and I say now more than ever from Draft 4 to Draft 5, how else can you see that?
Look, all they're doing is they're trying to cover their rears. They know that they weren't skilled enough, trained enough, knowledgeable enough to do this task. There is a cover-up within the cover-up. The cover-up in the cover-up is that the Planning Commission doesn't know how to create this product. And look, let's be fair. It's a big ask to do 60 years of zoning in 2 years.
Sure.
Okay? Look, I don't think that these people at the Planning Commission are happy about this. You know, you've got a job, your boss comes in and says, well, take that hill. I have a small amount of empathy for the people that created the product. They're in over their heads. They're flailing. When you look at Draft 5, you see so many sections that are changed, and it's like, guys, how difficult. I mean, they can't even get on the same page.
And here's some of what Rico and Michael is talking about, all right? We worked, and by we, I mean Real News audience, the people that were actually talking about this, whoever was actually concerned, worked for quite some time to try and get a few concessions made. And what Rico and Michael means is those few concessions made, it's not even the additional material that's added in that 48% increase. It's the additional material that's added that actually changes previous material. The Planning Commission lied, reneged about accessory dwelling units. The ADU may be located only on a lot with a single-family dwelling. One of the dwelling units must be occupied by the owner of the property. Previously, the ADU, and this is actually something I believe you sent me, previously the ADU had to be owner-occupied. So now, all the government grants can be used to generate profit. Neighborhoods will be changed in negative ways. This is the opposite of the planning. It's an invasion. This unilaterally voids all setbacks. Another reason for the writ of mandamus there. Number 4, all parking lot elements required by ADA must be accessible. All off-street parking lots must have a number of accessible parking spaces as required by Table 11.3, required accessible parking spaces or as amended by the ADA. No one with any sense will build buildings with 2 entrances open during business hours. The shoplifting and security concerns are too much. The so-called urban designers now know very little about actual business. Going on to say, as bad as Draft 5 is, it's not the end. City Council has said there will be yearly updates. Now, I'll tell you one more time, I'll stress this as we're hitting this break and give you the last 30 seconds to respond here, Recode Mike. Michael. I've been trying to remain somewhat mum on my opinion on this. Grant's a personal opinion. Mr. Henry has been very open about trying to be objective. I've had multiple city council members in here trying to give me. I've asked openly for people to advocate this position, to tell me why this is a good thing. I want to know, genuinely want to know why this is a good thing, or maybe even why it's needed. But what I get in the meantime is you've just increased from 48% from the previous draft to the new draft, and in so doing, you've told us nobody can even have a conversation about what's included. In Facebook, Kelly just said something as simple as, well, we need to pass it so we can understand what's in it. And I'm telling you, buddy, it didn't work at a national level. Why in the world would they think it's going to work at a local level? You can finish that out for us, Recode, Michael.
Your city is breaking the law, and they're lying to you. If you're in a neighborhood, they lied about the accessory dwelling unit. They made a commitment. They would be owner-occupied. They've now reneged on that. That opens this up to government grants. If you are in a neighborhood like Coy Hills, Cumberland State, Holston Hills, West Hills, where you have big lots, look, when you built your house, there were setbacks. If you violate the setback, you break the law.
Yeah.
But they're unilaterally voiding all the setbacks. This is wrong. If you don't defend your rights will be taken from you.
Recode, Michael, buddy, we always appreciate hearing from you, keeping us up to date on this stuff through the Real News Gmail as well. We'll talk to you soon.
Thanks a lot. See you.
There goes Recode, Michael. 9:21 in the morning. Hit this break. Come back with some more on Conspiracy Theory Thursday.
So tell me.
Ow! I don't know, Eric. It seems like they've been pretty careful to try and remain as legally compliant as possible. But it's also frustrating, man, because all they have to technically remain legally compliant upon is what ordinances they pass. So something as simple as the notice, for example, if they pass an ordinance saying that they don't have to give notice other than just in the Knox News Signal, then they legally don't have to give notice outside of the Knox News Signal, which is what they did. Now, granted, they sent notices out later on, I suppose, because they were pushed, but they didn't have to do that. So as far as the legality, that's why Roberta and Rico and Michael said maybe our one option is this, what do they call it, a writ of mandamus, which is, someone in a superior level of power, I suppose, or superior court or somebody would say, hey, you've abused your discretion, and you need to stop it type thing. But I don't know what that means for anything going forward. Poop down, poop down, poop down. Yeah, that's right. Talking about Kelly's emoji comments here. Yeah, what Ray means is how are you damaged, meaning, you may not have standing in court. I suppose that's what you're talking about, Ray, is someone's eventually going to ask you, how has this harmed you right now, right? What legal claim can you bring to me to where your rights have been violated somehow? Otherwise, you have no standing in court. You might eventually have some standing in court, but, Look, I'm not trying to sound too pessimistic. They did a good job. They did a good job about keeping the public awareness down for a very long time, just until it was a smart play, man. It was a very smart play. Most of the public was kept blissfully unaware for a very long time until we got to the point where we couldn't do anything about it anymore. And now all of a sudden everyone's concerned, but it doesn't matter.
Welcome back to Real News. Hey, man, look, even the people that would... be neutral on the Recode stuff. Is that the best way to say it? Even the people that are not that know about Recode, but that are not necessarily concerned about its implementation, they will even say, yeah, nobody knows about it. Nobody knows. When Recode Michael calls in here and says 5%, that's probably the top of what I've heard, 5% people that know about Recode. Go listen to that Triple H broadcast, man. I mean, he had 2 solid segments. I'm talking literally. I was listening because I was sitting on hold. Man, I just outed myself there, didn't I? Whatever. Fine. I was sitting on hold to call into that program to at least lend some of his audience what Recode is. I was sitting on hold for 2 solid segments worth of callers where he was asking the biggest issue facing Knoxville right now that nobody knows about it. What is it? Nobody knew. Nobody knew. Even the people that are neutral about it. Some of the people I've been speaking to personally in the studio the last couple of days, even those people that are neutral about its implementation, meaning they don't really have they just know what it is. They don't really have a concern of avocation for it or that it should be stopped. Even they will say 3%, 2%, maybe 5%. And I was saying this to Facebook off air. Look, man, you got to give the city credit. You got to give them credit. If what they were trying to do was pass this through in a sense that nobody knew about, they did a pretty good job of it. I don't mean to laugh, Roz, and I'm not trying to be too pessimistic about this thing, but goodness gracious, if we're talking Conspiracy Theory Thursday, it was a pretty brilliant play. We're 5 drafts in now, 427 pages, and nobody knows anything about it. 2-something years, 5 full drafts, and nobody has a single clue about how 73,000 plots of land are going to change.
I'm going to throw something out there, and I don't care how offensive it is to anybody. To be
I love when you start
quite
segments that way. Yeah.
If we had a stand-up mayor, we would probably know about Recode Knoxville.
Yeah, no, I hear you. Yeah. I mean,
There you go.
she's got Facebook, doesn't she?
Yeah,
Doesn't
she's tweeting all around town, and she's got the Facebook, and she's got all of it. We would all know.
Look, maybe we're getting too controversial on Real News right here, but these are our opinions, all right? These are our opinions.
Yeah.
And I would love
hurt.
I would love for someone to change my opinion, but opinion is for legal reasons. It's our opinion, but you get what I'm saying. We've asked for people to come in here and change our opinion. But my opinion right now has nothing to do with Recode, the text of Recode. It has to do with the overwhelming sense of how Recode was pushed through. I mean, Roz, come on. Come on. A 48% increase from one draft to another, and on the last one, that's half of the draft.
I read his email last night, too.
That's half of the draft.
Yeah.
I mean, seriously, Roz, here's what Recode's supposed to be. We dole this out for 2 solid years.
I'm laughing because
I know
it's funny because it's true kind of thing.
Right.
You know?
I'm upset about Recode today, but I'm more upset about what possibly in the future in this city of Knoxville could possibly be done under those pretenses. Bro, you'll give me something that we
What the hell are they doing in this city building?
I don't know.
What are they doing?
I don't know.
Everybody's just sitting around eating chocolate. What's going on, man?
And I'm not trying to get too upset about this. I promise you I'm not. Again, Grant's seeping through a little bit this morning, but what I'm saying is, for 2 solid years, y'all, for 2 solid years, at least some of the people that are in the know have desperately been trying to report on this. Nick Del Volpe has been in here. Steve Hunley's been trying to report on this. We've been trying to do as much as we can. I know there's names that I'm forgetting right now. We have our own callers that are trying to do something about this. They've been tirelessly working about this. And if Facebook, if you know some other people that we should give credit to right now, please do that. So for over 2 years, we've been pushing this nonsense, trying to figure out what's even in it. Now, I've said from day one, I think it was bad strategy to try and figure out what's in it and then convince the people retroactively that it's bad by convincing them what's in it. I said from day one, the best strategy should have been, hey, something is being pushed through, the wool is being pulled over your eyes, you don't know about something the city council is going to be effective in your life. Now, up until literally yesterday, there wasn't something definitive that I could point to that would prove that case. There was a little bit. I could point here and there. I could point that. But every time I said something, I got this immediate, and I've received immediate reaction from other media members where they've said, well, we've had 50, 60, 70 meetings about this. Sure, okay. What do you do now? What about today? Where are the 50, 60, 70 meetings for an additional 48% increase on the documentation? Where is that? Unfortunately, or possibly fortunately, depending on how you're viewing this situation, now I have something definitive I can point to. Draft 4 to Draft 5. And let's say there's nothing different in Draft 5. Let me prove this point to you philosophically. Let's say there's nothing different in Draft 5. Let's say in Draft 5 that additional 48% of documentation. Let's say it doesn't change anything else. Let's say it doesn't add anything that's worth our time or our value. Let's say it's just 48% worth of blank pages. I don't know. Well, first of all, that doesn't make a lot of logical sense on its face. Why would you add an additional couple hundred pages, if not to add something else in there? Or to clarify previous issues, that's fine. But I think the problem that a lot of Knoxvillians are having is, if you're going to add an additional couple hundred pages, at least give us a day, a week, a month, to figure out why you added that many pages. At least give some time to the city council to figure out why you added that many pages. Maybe there's something I'm missing. Mr. Henry is willing to admit that. Mr. Henry is willing to have someone on this program if they would show up. I'm willing to bring on and consider any potential viewpoint that. But at this point, I just you're going to put a couple hundred extra pages in here and not give us a time for a workshop? At least at a minimum, give me 3 minutes. Give us 3 minutes to make a point. Somebody, Green or someone from the NPC or otherwise, and I may be wrong. I'm telling you, I might be wrong. But tell me in a 3 to 5 minute soundbite as to why I'm wrong. Those additional couple hundred pages don't change anything. We shouldn't be worried about it. All it does is clarify previous issues, if for nothing else. I don't know, man. I don't know. I haven't been back to this area that long. But the sense that I got when I came back to this area was that people in Knoxville, the city and the county, they don't allow things like this to happen. And maybe we're trying to do as much as we can to not allow things like this to happen. And I don't mean Recode. I just meant when I came back, I'd lived in different cities, and the thing that I immediately noticed about this area is that we hold our representatives accountable. How many times do I have to tell that story where someone interrupted Burchett while he was announcing he was running for Congress? And he stopped in the middle of it and answered the question. It was absurd to me. But it immediately drove home to me right there. Man, these representatives, they realize they are working for the people. You know, they are beholden to the people. It is truly, if for anything else, it is truly a representative. I am your representative. I'm working on your behalf. That's what I think the people in Knoxville are frustrated by. There are a few select individuals that are frustrated by the text of the code. There are a few select people that actually know what's in the code. I'm probably not one of them. I'm a conduit through which I hear people on this program, and I try and articulate the feelings that I'm getting from I think that's something that I'm decent at. What I'm probably decent at is taking a mountain of information, synthesizing that down, re-articulating it, and putting it in a package that makes sense to other people. So what I'm trying to do right now is tell whoever's listening to my voice on these radio waves, if you so happen to be in the city council building, all I'm hearing from my people, granted, we may be a niche audience, granted. Aside from that, you have a niche audience. There's only 5% of people that know about it. It is a niche audience. It is a niche issue. You've made it a niche issue. So therefore, you must listen to the niche people of the niche issue. So what I'm doing is taking the feelings from my Facebook, from the people that call in, from anybody that has any concern about Recode, because there's only 5% of people that know, and the 5% of the people that know are calling in only to this program because no other program is talking about it. I'm taking their feelings and articulating out. What people are really concerned about in Knoxville is that they're not being heard. What people are really concerned about in Knoxville is that we've turned the city into something run by a Nancy Pelosi-esque style of leadership. Am I saying O'Hara's Nancy Pelosi? No, it's not what I'm saying. It's not what I'm saying. I am saying I moved back to Knoxville, and this is not the Knoxville that I knew when I moved back to. These are not the Knoxvillians that were okay with not having a voice, that were okay with not being informed. This is not the Knoxville that would be okay with adding a couple hundred pages to a comprehensive rezoning package in the 11th hour and not ask why. That's what I'm saying. That's the feeling. Doesn't have anything to do with Recode. 9:34 now. Man, really? All three All 3 lines. All right. Well, I said something. I don't know what I said. We got all 3 lines. We'll catch those during the break. Be right back.
No tax without representation. Don't take my money if I don't have a say. No taxation without representation.
Oh, Heather, we missed you. Yeah, that honestly, y'all, the FM AM signal, it doesn't do this whole station the service it's needed. Don't you rain on my parade, Ray. Yeah, actually, the Bluetooth stuff, y'all, I have 2 in my Jeep right now. I think I'll bring one of those in and give those away to somebody. Hey, Facebook. Anybody still... Yeah, y'all can hear me, right? What would y'all think about me doing an interview with WBIR about Recode? Somebody maybe setting that up for us? Apparently they're looking for somebody to respond about Recode. I'm not sure how my name got thrown out there, but
I don't know.
Yeah, like a year ago. $760 from Detroit. Oh, that's bad. Really? Sad stuff. Still not where I wanted it to be. I don't know the answer to that question, Chris. I don't know if it powers down or a stronger signal takes over or what. Oh, no. WC, Linus, and JB. All right, well, Conspiracy Theory Thursday didn't turn into a Recode day. I guess I could make it a serious Conspiracy Theory Thursday and say that it's a racist plan. I was talking to somebody the other day that was saying that Recode Knoxville is far too similar to the 1920s. Put them all together. I think that would bring on the apocalypse, man, if I put on WC, Linus, and JB with me all at the same time. We create a vortex in the studio, right? Yeah, you're right, for the publicity show. Anyways, I was talking to a guy saying that that was pointing me back to the 20s code for zoning, and we talked about this a little bit on Tuesday, but saying how there was overtly racist language in that 20s code, and how Recode Knoxville seems. Are you talking to me, Raj? Facebook's gonna hate you for this because I was just making a point. Sorry. Golly, you.
Facebook people don't pay my bills, honey. Okay. Okay. So Joan wanted you to mention that in 1776, this is why we went to the Revolutionary War.
Oh, geez, really? See, now we're getting real conspiracy theories.
Kind of true.
Yeah.
Kind of true, though, when she broke it on down for me.
broken on down.
I mean, you don't really have time to break it on down.
I don't now with these number of callers. I mean, I hear where she's coming from. I'm not going to try and advocate on air that we should have a violent revolution because of Recode, but
No, absolutely not. But
no, but I hear what she's saying. The whole idea behind the revolution was
I would tell you something super, super off air later, like not even for Facebook to hear. So.
now Facebook's really mad. They want to hear.
Sorry.
How controversial is it on a scale of 1 to 10?
It's more a trick up the sleeve that somebody and myself spoke about that he doesn't want people to know about.
Oh, dude, now Facebook's really mad at you because they're like, oh, you got to tell us what that was about. Wait.
Sorry.
Who am I going to first, by the way, here?
Well, Lennis called first. You might want to knock that out because you know that takes a while. Then it was JB. Then it was white chocolate.
Okay. I'll do Linus and JB during this segment and then the chocolate to end with.
All right.
We always end with the chocolate.
Yeah, we do.
Yeah.
Only. From the 6th Storm Team, I'm Chief Meteorologist Matt Hinken for the East Tennessee Weather Network.
Oh man. Anyways, to finish it out, Facebook. Right. So someone was telling me, check the 1920s code. 1920s code. There was some fairly overt. The language was overtly racist. Okay. And someone was telling me, go look at what the Recode Knoxville is meant to do. Now, there's not overtly racist language in there. However, in the same way that the 20s zoning inevitably set up a racist outcome, gentrification and all that, so too might Recode Knoxville, maybe even inadvertently, nevertheless, inevitably work itself out to a fairly racist outcome. And, you know, I mean, come on, man. There's some truth to that, is there not?
There's a hole in my jeans. Right in the crotch area. Oh, man. I love these jeans. Shoot.
My wife's going to make me throw these away now. She might keep them for special times. Facebook didn't want to hear that at all. There is just a hole in my jeans right there. Oh, man. All right, here we go. Back on air.
92.3 and AM 760.
Be a part of the show on the Crown Plaza call-in line.
865-888.
Yo, what you know? That's right. During winter, it's snow. Let's go to the crown. Linus is hanging on. Before I get to, let me just say this, all right? Not just Knoxville, but this country in particular, we have a slight sensitivity to not being listened to. You know what I'm saying? Hey, man, the foundation of this country, one might even say, you just weren't giving us representation, man. You weren't paying attention to people's voice. I don't know. I guess all I'm saying now is you just somebody needs to listen to people in Knoxville. And, whatever. I won't continue. Let's go to Linus. Linus, buddy, thanks for hanging on. What's on your mind?
Well, what we're looking at is the same thing that started the Revolutionary War, basically. Taxation without representation. And the people behind this might be smart to study the Battle of Athens, because there's a lot more going on here than they think. This is the doggonedest thing I believe I've ever seen. They've turned Knoxville into a mini Venezuela with this.
Hey, Linus, did you know? I'm going to be honest with the Real News audience. I had no clue that Draft 5 added on a couple hundred pages prior to Recode Michaels emailing me about it last night. That's how difficult it is to even a guy like me who hosts a local talk radio program, man. It's not coming up on any of the things I search for unless I'm constantly staying vigilant to the Recode site. Did you have any idea that Draft 5 would add this many pages?
No, but ask me if I'm surprised.
Yeah. Yeah, maybe that's the better question. No, are you surprised, Liz?
No,
right,
no,
there.
I'm not.
All right.
What's going on is simple. They've chosen to ignore the people of the city of Knoxville and rule against us and do exactly what their masters tell them to.
Who do you think their masters are here, man?
Well, I've got a theory or two about it.
Yeah.
Who do you know in this town that has the power to tell the media to stand down?
I honestly don't know. I know your
I
questions.
do, and so do you if you'd stop and think. It's an individual that used to be the governor.
Haslam?
I think they're planning on using Recode to make a lot of money in the end and use it to run for the Senate on. I can't prove any of this. This is my opinion of it.
Hey, man, it's Conspiracy Theory Thursday. Run with it. I don't care. Yeah.
Nothing to it. All you got to do is follow the money and see who benefits.
I mean, because I'm trying to
And
figure
by
it
the
out.
way, who did Rohiro work for? Who was her? She was whose girl?
No, yeah, I hear you there. I understand that. I'm trying to figure out: is this an ICLEI thing? Is this that maybe NPC or City Council doesn't understand what they were getting involved with when they were hiring Camaros? Or
You're assuming that they're a logical entity that actually weighs things instead of taking orders, and they're not.
Is
They're
it
a
true?
rubber stamp.
Is it true, Linus, also that Warren Buffett's been buying up a lot of land around here, a lot of something around here? It seems like someone was telling me the other day that a lot of major real estate players
I
are.
don't know about Warren Buffett, but I understand Haslam has already been to D.C. a few times on fact-finding missions to run for the Senate.
Well, yeah, everyone should have saw that coming. I actually thought.
Fact-finding missions, that means he's out talking to lobbyists.
Yeah.
Who's
Yeah.
one of the biggest lobbyists? It is Warren Buffett.
Yeah, someone's telling me on Facebook. Matt's saying on Facebook, yes, Grant, yes, it was Bill Gates and Buffett that are buying up areas around here. Buddy, I'm telling you, man, there's something. It's a smell of something changing. You know what I mean?
Well, in the end, like I say, I have no proof. This is just my opinion, and every man is entitled to an opinion, particularly about a public figure. But this is what I suspect. I suspect that if you just follow who has the power to shut the press down here, it's obvious who it is. And somebody certainly has, because this is an earth-shaking story.
I just got a message from somebody else saying it's been said that anybody that was against this was dead in the water politically.
Exactly. Who has the power to do that? You're looking at the black side of Republican politics here, not here in this area.
Golly,
Who do you
man.
think's making all the money? Follow the money, guys. Who's making the money?
Yeah, Aaron's.
Not Democrats necessarily.
No. No.
By the way, the Republican Party has behaved over this issue is heinous.
Yeah, that's
Again,
true.
You are looking at an awfully big fish swimming under the water. You can't see, but you sure see the ripples.
I'll tell you, buddy, that's one of the more true statements I've heard in this program. There's been a lot of dropping the ball, so to speak. And look, I'll include myself on this, okay? I didn't know about this until Richard brought it to my attention. I mean, there's been a lot of dropping the ball either on the coverage or on anything else. We got to hit this break, Linus. I'll give you the last 30 seconds, then we'll hit JB after this break. Go ahead, though, buddy.
Well, all I got to say is this, fellas. We know what they're going to do. They've already voted on this. And that's just a grim fact of the matter. The reason they're doing this right now is because every day they wait, more opposition shows up. I expect them to do this 3-4 weeks ago.
Hey, Linus, buddy, I always appreciate hearing from you. I'm glad we're on the same page with this, man. We'll talk to you soon.
Bye-bye.
Hey, take it this way, okay? Somebody just messaged me, and this is all counts. Take it, okay? If you're hearing this on media, if you're in the city council building, whatever else, if you're going to talk to me about this later on, this is all counts within Conspiracy Theory Thursday. Legal quotes in the air. Somebody's telling me it was said that anyone that was dead in the water, anybody that was against this was dead in the water politically. Then it was said Haslam was behind that atmosphere. Aaron just told me on Facebook, Buffett has been seen in Knoxville several times recently, saying things Buffett's buying up a bunch of areas south Knoxville, G-Burg. Look, man, I'm telling you, follow the money. Follow the fires in Gatlinburg. They're saying Conspiracy Theory Thursday. I don't know. I'm just saying if you're trying to make some sense as to why the city council people are saying you're nonsense, man. It's nonsense that this is going to be some weird demographic takeover and change. It's not going to change the city. We know nothing about that. And they may know nothing about it.
Didn't they say the Gatlinburg fires started, it was like some teenage boy with a cigarette or something like that?
Yeah, and then there was also stories floating around in the Middle East somewhere that it was actually something that ISIS had called for. Not specifically the Gatlinburg fires, but ISIS had called for, like lighting tires on fires and rolling them into valleys. And, dude, it's just...
But we never really got the real story, right?
No, I don't know, Roz. I don't know. At 9:49, hit this break. Be back with JB.
Yeah, well, that's the way it works out, isn't it, Chris? I mean, it's a lot of this stuff. Whether you supplant a motivation or not, when there's a fire, you get redevelopment, and then a lot of rich people make more money. Snap law? What's the snap law? Oh, okay, right, yeah, that's now, yeah, I hear you, right. What they changed to, used to be food stamps, is that right? Y'all are blowing my mind too much on Facebook here, man. I'm not ready for this. I was barely ready for them adding on a couple hundred pages to Recode. Now you're telling me that it's coming for a southern takeover. Buffett owns Clayton. Is that right? Are you talking about Vanderbilt? What's that? Vanderbilt something or another? You saying Buffett owns Vanderbilt something? Yeah, dude, that's right. What's his name told me that the other day? Our student loan expert guy. That's not even conspiracy news. That's just straight up truth, right? Didn't he just recently buy out Clayton? Or maybe Vanderbilt, which is Clayton's parent company. Is that right? Man, all this stuff, dude. You're seeing how my mind works when the webs connect, you know what I mean? That's why I love the Facebook. All runoff locals and native Knoxvillians attack on the South. Berkshire Hathaway. Okay, yeah, right. So we're saying Berkshire Hathaway recently purchased Vanderbilt or Clayton, and in so doing purchased. All right, so think about it this way. All the people, those homes that Clayton's on, that are also tracked with the land, right? Is that what y'all was saying? See, Matt, now you're really blowing my mind. All right, hang on, I'll address this real quick.
All right, Facebook, Norm, Aaron, Matt, Ray, Chris. These people are blowing my mind on Facebook. Before I get to JB, I'm just going to give him unbroken the last couple minutes of the show. Man, goodness gracious, y'all. All right, talking about Berkshire. We were talking about Warren Buffett buying up areas in this town or something. Talking about Berkshire Hathaway purchasing out Vanderbilt, or maybe Vanderbilt's a subsidiary of Clayton Homes. Talking about the affiliation between Dollywood, owned by Disney, possibly a portion of Buffett himself. Y'all, I'm telling you, man, Facebook's trying to blow my mind over here. The whole idea is it wasn't their rich people that were buying up portions of companies or something that could be influential on land ownership. I don't know, man. I don't know. The Berkshire Hathaway Vanderbilt Clayton Home connection, that is blowing my mind. I'm not nearly adept enough to comment on that right now. With that being said, JB, you're live with us on Real News right now. I'll give you the last 6-7 minutes unbroken here. You go ahead, buddy.
Grant, you've finally broken through the reality of the DMT world of Knox County politics.
Yeah.
You're seeing the machine elves work before you now. By the way, just in passing, DMT, very interesting topic, a lot of interesting stuff about it. The bad thing about DMT is, for a lot of people, is it destroys the illusion of materialism.
Ooh.
And quantum mechanics and DMT utilized as another spiritual world where you see people with similar experiences, other things happen. Rick Strassman's book, The Spirit Molecule, talks about that people see other realities and they grow through this and integrate their personalities. And it may be a very, very effective treatment for depression.
Ooh.
And maybe people don't want you to know that. So it's a DMT and quantum mechanics are the end of materialism, which is the end of that paradigm. You talk about Thomas Kuhn and scientific paradigms. The new paradigm must be a more materialism's got to go out the window. So let's move back to politics for a second here. A couple of things I'd like to point out. This is an example of really, really bad, low quality, very poor banana republic politics. It's bad representation. Recode is the symptom of the disease, not the disease. Control this valley, controlled by some vested interest, going back to trying to control it back to 9 counties. One vision was the unified control of 9 counties under one hand of the Haslams, of course. That goes back 20 years, and this is another example of this. But three things I've seen recently is that I was looking through this material, and as I've done through so many times, and I wondered, how is it that there's a blackout at 6 and 8 and 10 in the News Sentinel and at WOKI and the other entities? And I wondered, is it possible there are PR firms in this county whose job it is not to release information but to black it out? So if a PR company had been hired by the city, and that PR company was then working with MPC and with the city council to make sure that this never got out, or to control whatever got out in tiny little bits that would never be released, they lacked the fact that it was less than 1/10 of 1% knew about it. Now you get to 5%, that's 7 times more than used to know about it, but still it's a tiny minority. But I think a large PR firm has been handling this in total blackout. How do I know this? Because somebody told me this. Somebody who was in the know. By the way, a Channel 8 news team walked right by one of our public meetings, the public meetings about the workshops, and then walked by, stopped looking, and walked away. Didn't even come in and run any B-roll on people speaking at the meeting. Now, why was that the case? The other thing is this: I wondered, I go through budgets. Where's the money going? I looked at the budget of MPC, and there was nothing for printing. Then I remembered, Mr. Green said that David Brace in the city volunteered to do all the printing for him.
And JB, just to let you know, we only have about 30 seconds left, so you can finish out there. Go ahead, buddy.
Well, if you're going to pay for all the printing that MPC does, it's a huge budget. The city is paying the printing with your tax money and hiding that. It doesn't show up in MPC's budget, and that they're concealing the truth. And lastly, something people need to know is that how is this going to be? What are city council people being told? A guy named Peter Ahrens, who's the plans review and inspections director, is going to be new zoning administrator. He'll decide how to enforce all these rules on your house, everybody else's house. He's hired he's hired by the city, appointed by the city. He'll control all the decisions. So these are all things they're not telling you. This is bad government in its worst form. I think a writ of mandamus is a great idea. And we've got to tell these city council people we're not going to put up with this mess. This must end.
JB, buddy, I appreciate the comments. We'll talk to you soon. And there goes JB. Look, just a symptom of what's actually going on. Fits pretty well with Conspiracy Theory Thursday as far as I'm concerned. You're talking Berkshire Hathaway takeover of the South. You're talking Warren Buffett influence in Knoxville, Tennessee. You're talking changing the rest of the southern states through our little town here. Come on, man. That's a decent Conspiracy Theory Thursday as far as I'm concerned. 9:57 news, traffic, weather, all that. Glenn Beck coming up next. Be back tomorrow doing it big.
Yeah. I'm sure Buffett's easily, what is he worth, $40-50 billion? Yeah, man. Without a doubt, Buffett's probably one of the people that's at Bilderberg or Bohemian Grove or any of those places, y'all. What is this receipt? Oh, that's for my dog. My dog got groomed yesterday. She looks so cute. All right, y'all. That was great stuff at the end. I appreciate all the comments from Matt, Kelly, Norm, Eric, Ray, Aaron, Chris. You guys are all the best, man. Helped me finish out the last segments of the show. That really made it tie into Conspiracy Theory Thursday well. I wish it didn't have to be put in Conspiracy Theory Thursday, but for legal reasons, you get my reasoning for doing so, right? Can't sue for an opinion. Cannot sue. Defamation doesn't fit into an opinion, buddy. Anyways, yeah, tomorrow, Friday. Is tomorrow? Dude, this week has just flown by, man. All right, tomorrow is Friday. Best Audience Nation Appreciation Friday. I'll tell you what I might do, buddy. Buddies. I'm your buddies guy. You guys are my guy, friends. You guys are my friends. Buddies, whatever they say. I might bring up that story tomorrow, that the DMT thing. Really interesting stuff that JB was just like rattling off there. I kind of wish I would have gotten into it today, but it was just a good show. Dude, the DMD stuff, piercing the veil, so to speak, into an alternate reality. Man, interesting stuff. Potentially helping with depression. Goodness. I'm not going to go out there and advocate that people should just voluntarily do DMT if you're dealing with depression. No, man. All right, Ray, I'll close the show. Ray says close the show so I can download it. Ray's been having problems with it. Well, he'll explain it later. He's been having problems with it archiving somewhere else as soon as they get done. Anyways, y'all the best as always. Absolutely love you. You guys are the reason why I do the show. Cool Kids Table. Hey, if you have an iPhone or if you have an Android, go on your podcast thing and tell me if you can find the Real News podcast. Search for Real News Radio, search for Mr. Henry, Mr. Henry, or search for Real News Radio, Mr. Henry. See if it comes up under any of those. It has been for me, but I don't know if it's because I'm already subscribed to it or something. So either way, I'll end it there. Y'all the best. Love you. See you tomorrow.